Hi, and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with...
Dan.
Chris.
Lee.
Oh, Chris, sorry, you're going to have to go fifth because you were third.
Must we always start with some sort of fucking crazy pun about the fucking race?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we are kind of talking about F1.
So who's going to go third if I go fifth?
Well, Lee's just been demoted for swearing. He's called in front of the stewards now.
I've got a message for you. Fuck off.
No, we'll get to that later in the Formula Lee section because there's been a lot of Vettling recently.
Yes, there's been a lot of Vettling.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that after Mexico. What a fucking messy ending.
Messy ending.
Yeah.
Messy start, messy ending, quite dull in the middle section of the race. We were all waiting for a second pit stop to happen, and a lot of cars didn't do them.
It's not.
No, let's be honest. We were all sat around eating tartiflette and drinking wine.
The three of us were
Yeah.
on this side of the table.
Sounds nice.
It was very nice, actually, Lee, yeah.
It was not a very good track.
No, I quite enjoy the circuit. I think it's good for fans.
No, but you can't overtake.
I found it odd that under DRS didn't give you much of an advantage.
Yeah.
On that big, long straight.
They can't follow coming onto the straight. So by the time you get onto the straight,
And I wonder if that's got anything to do with the altitude. Has it? Do you think? Is that science? Does science work like that?
I think it's just got more to
Maybe.
Drag
Yeah.
reduction. Less.
There's less thicker air to
It's
cause
thinner, isn't it?
drag,
So,
yeah.
It sounds like a workable theory.
I think it's more to do with the actual corner and the dirty air coming off the car because they've already got a low grip because of the surface.
And because the air is thinner up there, if
Yeah.
you will, the when you're following a car in dirty air tail for the car is longer as well.
Yeah.
Because there's less thick air to rush in straight away. It's
Is this science or speculation?
science.
It's
Right.
speculative science.
Speculative science.
Scienceulation.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I might
Look
be wrong.
around you.
Look around you. Calcium. No, not calcium.
Talking of kind of dirty air, one thing that I really did find bizarre was in the stadium section, they had that sort of picnic and barbecue area.
Oh, the barbecue area is all
Yeah.
the smoke
Yeah.
coming
And
out
all
of.
the smoke coming out of the barbecues, every time they showed a long shot
Looked
down
like
the
a
back
lock-up.
straight, looked like somebody had either locked up or their engine had blown.
Well, they'd gone on at that just before the stadium section, and there was smoke. It was like, who's blown up there?
Who's off? Oh, it's some
No,
ribs.
it's someone
Yeah.
having ribs.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Good idea though, having a barbecue section in a race. Being expensive, I think.
Until you stood in the McLaren garage and someone's going, "Has anybody seen Eric?"
He was actually around quite a lot in Mexico, and also around. Yeah, he was about quite a bit in Mexico. He was on TV a few times.
Yeah.
I saw Eric Boulier.
Rumors that he's fucking Ferrari bound.
Apparently so.
Yeah, he is one of the names that's been mentioned as Arriva Bene's replacement.
Yeah, silly season isn't just drivers this
No.
year.
Well, no,
Also,
Josh
they are-
Capito apparently, after his first few races at McLaren, is considering wielding the axe, and was wielding the axe on a lot of people Eric Boulier holds in high regard. So, yeah.
Truffles, pastries.
You cannot get rid of the pastry chef. I won't have it.
But yeah, there's been a few names associated with Ferrari before even Arriva Bene's been shown the door.
Yeah.
Boulier, of course, being one. Cyril Abiteboul has been mentioned from Renault.
That's a fucking mouthful, isn't it?
Cyril Abiteboul.
Yeah. And I did mention the third yesterday, and I can't remember for the life of me who else.
Wasn't it?
well,
It's
it's
not
been talked
Zach
about.
Brown, is it? He was linked with McLaren. I don't know if he still is. After Ron Dennis might pop out of the boardroom for a few years.
And of course the token Ross Brawn rumours as well, because well, every time somebody says I'm going home for the night, it's like, oh, Ross Brawn's replacing him then.
What sort of fucking moron will go to Ferrari at the minute?
Somebody who likes the colour red.
Somebody who likes a challenge.
A masochist.
Apparently they're also
Felipe Massa.
apparently they're also actively looking for. Now, bearing in mind we are 2 races before the end of this season.
Go on.
Which means we are almost ready for the beginning of next season.
Well, yes.
They are actively seeking a head of aerodynamics.
Oh, wow.
That's a
Fuck.
good thing for a Formula One team to have.
It is.
It
They
was
haven't
probably-
had one since Allison left.
No.
It was probably a good thing if they'd have replaced the one that they shoved out.
Was that June?
But I'm
Yeah.
not being funny. Like when you consider
It's
like-
November tomorrow. What's going on?
no, but consider a world where Ferrari have to look for an aerodynamicist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't just turn around
Yeah.
and say,
We're
"We're
having-
hiring."
Yeah. Or they don't just say, we're having that person
Yeah.
there. And that person goes, okay.
Yeah.
And walks in and throws away their Red Bull shirt. Sorry, I mean, throws away their old shirt and puts on the Ferrari
Well, no,
shirt.
it wouldn't be a Red Bull shirt, it'd be a Toro Rosso shirt.
If James Key was to get on
Key.
board. But I think Toro Rosso successfully kept hold of him, and I don't know. And this is an interesting point as well. I don't know if anybody else spotted this, but the interview with Franz Tost in the press conference, the team principals press conference, as to why they were retaining Danny Kvyat. We're retaining Danny Kvyat because he has the speed. We know he's a competent driver. He's scored podiums for the Red Bull organisation.
We've
So-
run out of children.
Yeah, but they've run out of children. And the last point that he made was he's got the experience that next year will be his third year in Formula One, and we are expecting to be a lot more successful than we have been this year, and we're going to need the drivers available to us.
Well, I think that goes without saying, doesn't it?
Yeah, but that to me points at what we speculated before about Red Bull pushing for a 1, 2, 3, 4
I don't think it's going to
in their
happen.
top two
I don't
teams.
think they're going to give the budget.
I think they're going to try to whitewash.
Well, do they need to give a lot of budget? Isn't it just an investment that will come back to them if Toro Rosso are going from being, where are they
Oh
now?
no, I know what you mean.
7th, I
So
think.
Yeah.
if they go from 7th to 5th, how many millions does that net them?
Many.
Many
Yeah.
millions.
I just don't believe that whenever anyone in Toro Rosso is any good, he gets moved up to Red Bull. So I don't believe they have the manpower there to
be a second team.
be Red Bull 2.0.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It just interested me the way Franz Tost said it.
Yeah, but
in that.
he's not going to turn around and say, "Yeah, we thought we'd keep Danny Kvyat because we'll be exactly where we are now."
Oh no, it's just the way. It's just the manner in which he said we're expecting to be a lot more successful.
Yeah, like I
Next
think that's
year.
more lip surface to Renault than anything else.
Possibly,
I mean,
they
'cause
are using,
that's the
they're
thing.
using last year's Ferrari engines at the moment.
Yeah.
Thank God for that. They've only got 2 races left.
Yeah, what they're doing right now is beta testing Sauber's 2017.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah, that's what they're doing. So should we go from the teams who finished at the back and work forward?
I think that's probably a good idea, since we do that every week.
Yes,
Or every
yeah.
race.
Spoiler.
Spoiler alert, Manor are up first.
If anyone's not watched the race yet, you might want to pause the podcast now.
Watch the race and then come back.
Right. So you got 3, 2, 1.
If you don't
Right.
want to know the
And
score,
also,
please look away now.
If you're listening to the podcast which says race review and you haven't seen the race yet, you want to check you're not doing other things like, I don't know, making toast in the bath.
Yes, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Following the instructions on the Williams deodorant. But yeah,
It
Manor.
won't let you down.
It will. I mean, it says the ideal strategy for the deodorant: put on your feet before a shower.
The full smedley.
Manor at the back.
Manor at the back.
Pascal Wehrlein, 1 straight.
What, no, he managed 1 straight in 2 corners.
Yeah.
1 straight in 2 corners, and then Gutierrez decided to. Did he tag Wehrlein? I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't think
he
it's
tagged.
Wehrlein's
No,
fault.
he tagged Wehrlein, and then Wehrlein unfortunately sort of went Hulkenberg's direction, and Magnussen got a bit caught up with it as well, I think.
Yeah.
No, Palmer was it who got caught up with it, because Palmer pitted very early on with the virtual safety car.
I think Palmer was one of the 3 that they investigated, wasn't he?
Possibly, yeah.
From memory.
And unfortunately,
There was that many investigations going on, I kind of lost track.
oh, and Marcus Ericsson it was. One of the cars involved was Marcus Ericsson.
Right.
Possibly not Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg was a later one, wasn't he? But the Ericsson managed to get going again. Gutierrez continued. Wehrlein unfortunately didn't. He
had 3 wheels.
He had 3 wheels and
No suspension.
no suspension. So,
Yeah, Wehrlein is blaming Gutierrez for the crash.
which is spot on.
He was already crashing into the McLaren in front of him. He was locking up his tyres, and yeah, he touched me.
And then Verline had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Show me on the
us on
model.
Show me on the model where he touched me. His front right hit my rear left.
It was
Gasps
just by
in
the
the court.
side pods.
He spun me right round
Like
like
a
a record.
Now we know this isn't easy for you, Mr. Verline, in your own time.
Just pretend it's just me and you in the court. There's nobody else here.
I was bumped by Jimmy Savile. Whoa, no, we were talking about the car.
Continue with.
We'll
Manor.
try and continue, but yeah, that ended his race before turn 3.
Being bumped
Yeah.
by Jimmy Savile.
No.
Yeah, it was on the entrance to turn 3, wasn't it? That he got tagged. So, but Esteban Ocon did continue. Believe he finished the race, last of all the runners.
Yes, 21st.
Yeah, but the second race in a row, the only driver who's 2 laps down. So we don't know how developed or underdeveloped that the Manor car is for the end of the season.
No, not wise words when we were just talking
No,
about Verline
I'm
getting
just
touched.
No,
Just thinking about
Lee, stop it. Don't make me get the beat machine out.
And
We don't have one
don't-
anymore, I'm free.
There's still the Jacques Villeneuve.
No, he's
Yeah.
more offensive than me.
Actually, yeah.
yeah, he is.
Yeah.
But he doesn't swear very often. So yeah, Esteban Ocon got to the finish, but he was last of all the runners. You'd expect a Manor to sort of be at the back anyway.
Yeah.
Difficult
But
weekend for them. Although
we
Verline
want-
did well in qualifying.
Yeah, we want to see the Manners in the race, not.
Oh, they were sort of in the race. Well, one of them was, but not really.
Only run 2 laps down.
I'd also like to point out that I don't think I don't think Ocon is doing himself any favours for jumping up the grid into a different team.
No, which we'll get onto the silly season a bit later, but it does look like he's poised to move one way or the other, but not
yeah.
staying at Manor.
Yeah, it could be too much too soon for him.
I
Felt-
think he'll. I think he'll be still at Manor.
Possibly. I mean, stranger things happen in Formula One than teams and drivers going back on what they said.
And it usually Smedley's.
But the next team on the grid were next team up the order rather, the most surprising, I think. Normally we move from Manor on to
Someone
Sauber.
anonymous.
Yeah,
but
someone-
no, we're not getting anonymous just yet. We're getting
No.
Anonymous Haas.
Anonymous. Haas.
Yeah,
Poor showing.
Grosjean 20th, Gutierrez 19th.
Grosjean with brake problems again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gutierrez with brake problems again.
Yeah,
Right. In modern Formula One, how the fuck can you have a team? I think I said this last week as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like on a safety issue, you think something would be said to that team.
Well, they
like,
have.
sort it out or fuck off.
Well, they're trying
they are trying to
to
sort it
because
out.
they're going to be using a different brake supplier in practice in Brazil, and if it works, the race.
and this
as
has
well.
just come to them now.
Yeah, the problem is the same brake supplier supplies all the other teams on the grid.
Yeah.
And Haas want to know if it's the brake supplier's fault
Yeah.
because it's only Haas's brakes that break, or if it's the brake. Or if it's actually Haas's design. I think Dan, you asked the question:
Yeah.
Is it our design that's breaking these brakes, or is it the brake supplier? When nobody else's brakes break,
Or is it the drivers?
what, Gutierrez and Grosjean just happen to be in the same team.
I think.
Yeah,
it's
I'd say it's something about the car.
I think it's the fucking dyslexic guy that's been ordering the parts in. He went to buy Brembo and he's bought Play-Doh.
Oh dear, that will do it.
It was just a bad weekend for them because Grosjean screwed up Gutierrez's qualifying
Yep.
by spinning right
No,
in front of
no,
them.
the other way
The
round.
other way
Oh,
round.
shit,
The
yeah,
other way round.
Gutierrez span in front of Grosjean. Grosjean had power unit problems already.
Mm.
And that was the only decent lap he was going to do, and Gutierrez ruined it for him. So both Hasses were out in Q1 as well. And then, just to make matters worse, he started Grosjean in the race from the pit lane because
Yeah.
he still hadn't resolved that power unit issue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it was, whether it was electrical or
They didn't
Turbo.
actually say. They just said power unit problem.
right. Okay.
Clinically bollocks.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So when they give all these power units to Sauber next year,
Well, is it going to be them or is it going to be Toro Rosso?
Tell you
doing
what,
it? Yeah.
Gutierrez is going to have to give blood to get a point, isn't he? There's just no chance.
God knows what he's got to do.
Poor showing in his home race. He will have wanted to do a lot better, and with the silly season which again we'll talk about after we've done the race review, it does look like a Haas driver's losing their seat, and
I think both of them.
I wouldn't mind putting money on it being Gutierrez if it's one of them.
I think both of them, because I don't believe Grosjean would be being so critical of the car if he was staying.
You don't say this is the worst car I've ever driven. Oh, let's see what next year's is like.
On a weekly fucking basis as well.
Yeah.
This is the worst
Honest
car I've
guys,
ever
it's the
driven
car that's
since
rubbish,
last
not
week.
me.
Well, give Grosjean a good car, and he can sometimes get on the podium.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to look at that from a positive angle, but
He's not outperforming that car now.
No,
either.
no,
That's
he's
that's
not.
the problem.
he was earlier on in the season, I think. But
Also,
also, with
that
it being
may have something to do with the brakes not working half
Well,
the
yeah,
time.
I think I said that last week,
Yeah.
didn't I? I mean,
Yeah.
how can you have confidence in a car
Exactly.
where you think it's not going to stop sometimes?
So you got drivers who lack confidence, and you've also got a team in their first season in Formula One who may have very abruptly stopped development at some point, and they have slid backwards in the second half of the season.
They've kind
Let's
of
be
got
honest.
the debut season the wrong way around, because you'd expect all these problems to crop up
At the beginning.
start of the season with a new car. They get the problems sorted and creep up into the points.
Yeah,
Though
whereas
the front wing hasn't fallen off for ages.
No, that's true. It's not fallen off since Italy. I think that was the last front wing failure they had.
well, they did have a side pod failure, didn't they, in practice at Austin?
Yeah.
When Gutierrez's side pod fell
Yeah.
off.
Dallara make the chassis to
Make the
cars,
chassis. I don't know if they make the actual
the
carbon
bits they bolt
shells
on
as
as
well.
well.
I thought no, the bolt-on stuff's made in house because they do all the
Haas automation.
Haas
or
automation because they make all the aero for their NASCAR as well.
Right.
So
Well, that NASCAR bodywork continually falls off them as well, doesn't it?
It's very wobbly. I don't know if anybody's ever watched a NASCAR race, but they doesn't look like real cars.
It's like liquid.
yeah. So someone's put a bit of jelly on a
jelly on a chassis.
Yeah, a
Then you
little
realise it's just one tyre.
yeah.
Toro Rosso next. Is 16th and 18th where we thought they'd be?
I don't think so, but
Danny Kvyat had a very odd tyre strategy, didn't he? It didn't appear to be the most defeatist tyre strategy I've ever seen.
and ended up saying that he had a good race
Yeah.
despite coming 18th.
Well, he another one with problems in qualifying, which meant he went out in Q1. But
They clearly didn't expect to beat the Haas.
No, I don't think
what
so.
it
But
was.
he had problems in Q1, but he started on soft tyres, and then at his first stop went on to the super softs,
Yeah.
and then at the second stop near the end of the race went on to the compulsory mediums, which again defeatist didn't make sense to me at all.
No.
Because it's like, okay, well, you're going to be all right in the first bit, really fast for a few laps in the middle, and then quite slow at the end.
You've just proved my point about Toro Rosso.
Go on.
What I just said there about them not having the manpower.
Yeah.
When you bearing in mind that that Red Bull constantly give their drivers strategies that put pressure on the cars in front of them, to
And Toro
change
Rosso
their
haven't.
strategy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if that's a comparison for everybody else in the team,
Well, it reflects poorly on the team, doesn't
that's why they're going to be fifth in the championship if they move up a bit.
it? All right. Yeah.
I mean,
It's a valid point.
Yeah, I don't understand the whole way working Kvyat's strategy out because aside from Palmer, who didn't take part in qualifying, he had the most new sets of super softs left because he had 3, so you could run him at the end on a set, knowing that they'd be fine after he's got the mediums out of the way. But
Sainz had testicle problems, didn't he?
Sainz had what?
Testicle problems.
Side pods?
Yeah.
I don't know.
this is kind of like my my fantasy team. You know, they're hosting a pair of pods in my fantasy American Football League.
Sainz and Alonso had an interesting battle at some point during the race, and Alonso has come out since and said that he found his compatriot drove very strangely
Oh,
during the
Sainz
race.
got a 5-second penalty.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
for forcing Alonso off the track
Yeah.
on lap 1. And I think that they actually battled again later on, and Sainz's defending was a bit strange, according to Fernando Alonso.
Don't meet your heroes because they might end up not liking you.
Exactly. they might hate you.
I think it'd be quite easy to get on the wrong side of Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, I think so too.
Good day, Fernando. Why?
I'm at McLaren, you tool.
Yeah, this is a day that shouldn't even be in this race.
No, it's great though, isn't it, Fernando? I don't want to talk about McLaren at the minute, but the way that when you
only don't want to talk about McLaren because you'll sob.
Well,
It was, yeah.
there was the only ray of sunshine for me for McLaren, but carry on. But the thing is, like, you stick a camera in front of Alonso in an interview, and he's so positive and he smiles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
As soon as that camera disappears, you're all fucking cunts. I hate this. I hate this car. What am I doing here?
Do you think at work he's the guy who turns up to work and he's all smiley and happy, and then he gets home and thumps his hand on the table and asks his wife where his dinner is?
Starts cracking his knuckles when she walks in the room.
Yeah. Where's my dinner? I thought you said beef burgers tonight.
What the fuck? It's a falafel!
I've been asking that question for years, and apparently it's got vegetables in, so I'm avoiding it.
They're a strange animal.
Renault. They're up next. Palmer in 14th.
Do you know
Talk about rescuing a weekend.
He benefited well from the virtual safety car early on in the race. I don't know if he started on medium tyres, did he? But he definitely pitted early on and got the medium. I think Nasser was the only driver actually to start on mediums.
Who picked up the last points?
Palmer did start on mediums.
Force India.
I wouldn't mind betting that if Palmer would have qualified, where you'd imagine
he'd be hassling the points.
He'd have been hassling the points in this race.
Possibly.
Because he finished on mediums. Sorry,
he finished on mediums. He Palmer cracked his chassis at the end of P3 by running wide out the last turn, basically just vibrating his car horrifically over the.
Didn't bend over and knock his chin against it.
No, not at all. So he had a cracked chassis. It was going to take a whole day to rebuild. Of course, it was only about an hour before qualifying. So straight away they said, all right, Julian Palmer's not taking part in it. And on Channel 4, UK television, the Eddie Jordan said, oh, well, in my day I would have had some epoxy resin or some glue and we would have patched it up and sent him out. And Steve Jones quite rightfully laughed at him and went, health and safety, Eddie, and David Coulthard joined in, and they both ripped it out of Eddie Jordan for a few minutes.
But as we discussed on Sunday when we were doing the Bloggly, you weren't round for the blogging, but Eddie Jordan is a glue expert because no matter how strong the wind, that thing on his head does not move.
Well, there's also got to be some sort of fucking reason why otherwise a complete fucktard. I can only imagine that's like industrial strength fumes.
Yeah, he would have had apparently he would have epoxy resin that chassis back together.
Yeah.
Never mind the health and safety aspect of it, or the fact that I'm pretty sure it's against the rules.
Yeah, he'd have used epoxy resin. He'd have used
sellotape.
He'd have used Biggie Smalls and Ice Cube.
But yeah, it was a good recovery drive from Jolyon Palmer, taking advantage of that early virtual safety car to pit and running long into the race with his tyre strategy. And yeah, I think I've got to agree with Lee that if he had qualified, maybe put that Renault into Q2, that he could well have been hassling the back end of the points to Force India as the Williamses.
Yeah, I mean, he made up 7 places, which for a Renault this season is bloody impressive.
I do think that he's done enough now over the last couple of races
to warrant
another go somewhere.
Yeah, he faltered and floundered at the beginning of the season. He didn't get much better in the middle of the season, but then he had a lot of bad luck with the car.
Yeah,
and he matched K-Mag at times and beaten him a few times. But lately he's pulled his socks up and sort of got on with it.
And they've obviously brought bits to that car
but
as well.
I don't know
that car's got more competitive.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is I don't think he's done enough to keep a seat at Renault, but a seat anywhere else is quite possible.
Yeah, I'm now on the side of we'll be seeing him next year, I think.
I hope so. But you see, I'll agree with you where I don't think he's going to stay at Renault, but I think he's done more in the last few races to warrant staying over Magnussen.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Where did Magnussen start? He finished 17th, didn't he?
Yeah,
18th, I think, wasn't it?
Was he out in Q1 as well?
No, I think he finished the race in 18th.
It's written down 17th. Kvyat's 18th.
Oh, is it?
But where did he start? Dan, you've got the easier access to the grid.
He made it to Q2.
Good old mobile devices and me asking questions on the fly.
Yeah. Sorry, who are we talking about? Magnussen.
Kevin Magnussen, his qualifying position.
It doesn't have the number, so I have to count 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17,
There's
16,
nothing like
15,
good like research
14.
and preparation.
So Magnussen started 14th, finished 17th.
Wait, nothing like good preparation
No.
and research.
Finished 18th, according to this. I wonder if I'm looking at the same race as everyone else.
Oh.
Maybe he did
I
finish
thought it was
18th.
18th.
Maybe I've got that wrong.
Maybe you've written things down wrong.
I might have written things down wrong.
I'm going to trust the website over
Oh,
Floyd
Kvyat
Racing.
got a time penalty, didn't he? That would have. Hang on, that wouldn't put Magnussen behind him, though, would it? Anyway, carry on.
Basically, Palmer had a better race than K-Mag.
Yes.
Um,
After not a lot of weekend and never racing on the circuit.
I think it's the first time he's raced. I don't think he tested there, did he? With last year's car. Don't think he had a Q1 test.
P1,
sorry,
GP2,
test.
It doesn't go to Mexico.
No.
does it?
No, it doesn't.
There's only one round of two races, one round of GP2 left in Abu Dhabi.
Is the championship decided yet?
No.
Who's still in the running for it?
I think there are 3 drivers in the running for the championship in GP2, is there?
Yeah, it's Pierre
Gasly.
and 2 others.
Yeah, but Gasly's not leaving.
Giovinazzi.
Yeah. And who else? Somebody help.
Sir-
Research.
Sorokin, maybe?
Is it
Or
Sergei
is he-
Sorokin?
Back a bit.
Right, let's have a look at the
Gasly
standings. Giovinazzi, Gasly and Marcello.
Marciello, Raffaele Marciello.
Yes.
Don't know why I even
hell.
asked. Don't even know why I asked because I don't know any of them.
I've got to be honest, I haven't caught any GP2 this year, and
No,
I'm
I
normally
haven't.
pretty good at watching it. For the last few seasons, I've actually watched all the GP2
Do
races.
you know why I stopped watching it?
Go on.
Because it means almost fucking nothing to Formula
No,
1.
I know what you mean, but for me, it's a good racing series. You get good races in it.
Yeah.
And as we've discussed in the past, as a feeder series for Formula 1, it's possibly not doing its job.
Yeah.
Actually, I think Marcello's out because the point scoring is different.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the sprint race has less points available. So Marcello can't win. But it's between Giovinazzi and Gasly. And if Gasly wins, then he's screwed for next season because he's not going to get the Toro Rosso drive.
Nope.
And he can't defend the title.
Nope.
So Red Bull are hoping that he has a bad weekend in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, see, if he doesn't win it, though, I mean, Jolyon Palmer is, he's the like living proof of the fact that you can spend 18 years in GP2 and then come to Formula 1.
Or Johnny Cecotto Jr., you can spend 18 years in GP2 and still come into a GP2 season with 3 races to go.
Yeah.
And cause lots of crashes.
Enough of GP2.
Enough of
GP2.
GP2. Sauber.
Surprisingly higher than we've seen it
Nosebleed
before.
territory.
Yeah,
They nearly made the top 10.
Nearly.
It was looking possible for points for Ericsson until he got passed by Perez for 10th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was in the Gutierrez position.
But didn't he finish 14th?
No, Ericsson finished
Ericsson.
11th.
Ericsson
Oh,
finished
was he?
11th.
Yeah.
And,
NASA finished 15th, was it?
yes.
Yeah.
See, they were pretty anonymous still, though, because I think it was about 5 laps from the end, and I thought, oh, hang on. One of them didn't go out with the manor at the beginning.
No, it was Ericsson got spun and managed to carry on.
Yeah.
So
There was about 30 seconds coverage of a Sauber at one point.
yeah, there was.
Wasn't there?
When you consider that Marcus Ericsson was involved in that first lap incident with Pascal Wehrlein and Esteban Gutierrez, to make up all that time, because I think he also stopped on the first lap along with Palmer and Ricciardo. To make up all that time and finish 11th, just outside the points, I think he was a fair few seconds back from Perez in the end.
He was about
30 seconds, I think, wasn't he, behind Perez at the end of the race?
No, he wasn't actually. He was on. I've not got the time. He'd been lapped. Perez hadn't.
Right.
But Perez was 1 minute 16 behind the leader. So
Not horrific then.
not a horrific amount. He was within a minute and 20.
Do you know what? It's a bad sign for McLaren, that, for the Sauber not doing too badly here.
Sauber 11th and 15th and McLaren 12th and 13th.
Yeah, but when you consider that, I think the Toro Rosso are the exception here, given the fact that they've got a slow engine. But it seems to be more of a track car than it does an engine car. I know, even though it's got that big long straight.
I know what you mean. I just think,
But given
I think
the fact
a lot of it is to do with luck, and I know I've said it before, and it's very difficult to prove. But Marcus Ericsson doesn't wake up until there's about 5 races to go of the season.
No. But the thing is, here is I would have expected McLaren to do a lot better here, and they didn't again.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was. I think McLaren are next on the list, are they not? But
yes, they are.
But Sauber, though, very nearly scoring a point. Had they scored a point, they would have been ahead of Manor, who scored a point through Pascal Wehrlein in Austria. On the fact that they've had something like
They've
5
had
12
better
places,
results.
yeah, 5 12 places, a couple of 11th places. So on countback, they'd actually passed Manor, which is worth what, $38 million?
$38 million
Good Lord.
in prize money for next season. And
So a point in Brazil or Abu Dhabi for Sauber is huge.
Do you know what though?
It's the difference between.
I don't want them to get it.
I'd quite like Manor to be in the position that they are, but I mean,
I think they deserve it more.
But if it means Sauber not being in Formula One next year, and Sauber being in Formula One next year, I'd rather see them there.
I'd rather see Manor get more money
As a competitive 10th team.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's not going to affect next year because they won't get this year's money till next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
They can
with
ask
Sauber,
for
though,
advances and things, can't they? We've seen that.
we
in the
all
past.
we all know that they're not going to be competitive next year with this year's engine.
Yeah.
And concentrating on the new aerodynamic rules, which every team's doing anyway.
Yeah. You're building a Formula One car. That's the fucking idea.
Yeah. And they just seem to have written next season off before they've even started.
But see, this is the thing. I think they've written Formula One off in a way because they don't seem to go about racing anymore. Their whole purpose is to keep that advertisement board on the circuit.
Who?
Sauber.
I think they want to be racing, but they haven't got the resources to do so at the moment.
They've got one of the. I mean, you say they haven't got.
They haven't got the resources. They just finished 11th and 15th.
Yeah, you say they haven't got the resources. They've got like the 3rd best facilities in Formula One.
Yeah, but if you've got no money to keep it running, doesn't matter.
No, that
Caterer had
true.
a factory.
But I don't think it's the lack of money that their problem is, because if you look at don't forget Sauber will also get the historic payment as well.
Yeah, I didn't realise. I only read this today. I think they're the 4th longest running team on the grid.
Yeah,
or Sauber.
So the thing with Sauber is, to me, is I don't believe it's a lack of money that's their problem. I think it's a lack of management. And I think it's being run as a business. And I tell you what, regardless of their results, there will be people in that team and board members that are there that are making money. From that.
This is Ferrari-esque problems just magnified 100-fold.
Yeah.
Because they don't have racers running the racing part of the team. If they want to build a new part for the car, they've got to put a business case forward.
This is
spending the money on putting
a
new part on the car.
Yeah, this is what could happen to McLaren as well. The way things are going.
It's very possible when you look at people. Well, Manisha Kaltenborn runs Sauber and she's a lawyer. Mm-hmm. Maurizio Rivabene is the head Ferrari and he's a cigarette salesman.
Mafia boss.
And mafia boss. Possibly dug a few holes in his lifetime.
Yeah. He got to quite a high level in the game.
Yeah. He wouldn't have dug any holes. He'd have got Danny to do it or something.
Yeah. Who was it who it was Bernie, wasn't it, who mentioned about digging holes?
Yeah.
Was it about this time last year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I was Bernie, I'd be fucking wary of people digging holes around me.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Arriva Bene knows exactly what to do there. So, and you're looking at somebody coming in at McLaren who's put possibly either a CEO of a corporation or the head of a supermarket chain. So,
I still think it'll be Whitmarsh comes back.
That Whitmarsh would be a sensible option. McLaren and sensible don't always happen.
No, but I don't think it would go missing to the board members that
the last time they were successful
was under Whitmarsh's rule, and then not a championship, obviously.
No, but it was the last time they were winning races.
Yeah.
And as soon as Whitmarsh went, they stopped winning races,
and it's got worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Sauber's basic problems are, you're rightly, it's just oh great, we've got this billboard,
Yeah.
and it might get on telly, and all
Yeah,
these
but it's not getting on telly.
all these
because-
companies that put their names on this billboard can use a Formula One car in their adverts.
Yeah.
Yay.
But the business decision must surely be, we want this billboard to be on TV. That means we need to be racing. Not just at the circuit.
I think
we
what
need to
happened
be...
is they also annoyed Bernie Ecclestone, and I can't for the life of me remember what they did to annoy Bernie Ecclestone.
They tried to
they
take
sued him.
them to the court.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you. They sued, yeah, they sued Bernie Ecclestone. So guess what? Sauber aren't on TV so much.
So did Force India.
Yeah, but Vijay Mallya and not being at circuits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
because pirate.
yeah, basically.
No, I think Force India have apologised since then.
Yeah, and also
Do you
for
think
the-
Hulkenberg should have to walk the plank?
I think Hulkenberg is the plan. But yeah, Force India, for those of you who don't know, their boss Vijay Mallya, who owns and runs the whole operation,
He's
isn't
a criminal.
yes, isn't allowed anywhere near any of his assets, which means he cannot attend Formula One races at the moment.
Have you not seen the amount of jewellery he's got? He can't even touch his neck then.
Can't touch his neck because it's part of his chin into his chest.
Anyway.
Sorry, enough.
He would actually make a Belton pirate, wouldn't he? Like,
Yeah.
all you need to do is change his clothes.
Probably.
Another reason that
Vijay Mallya can't attend races.
attend races is it looks like the Indian tax office are auctioning his private jet off next month.
If you want to buy Vijay Mallya's private jet, and why would you? It's going to be up for auction.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to buy that.
But
I've
we
got
know we're
nowhere
near-
to park it.
Exactly. We're nowhere near talking about Force
Hey,
India
you
yet.
talk about fucking instability. It's fucking amazing that team still is doing
And
well.
it's not just any private jet, it's an Airbus A319.
Which is quite a large private jet.
Yeah.
That's big.
That's a party bus.
Anything with bus in the title, generally not the smallest version of
No.
what
No.
that is.
No, exactly, yeah. Right. So we spoke about Sauber. We've not really talked about McLaren's race, although we had a laugh at their potential change at head of state,
Yeah.
if you will.
Jensen in 12th, Fernando in 13th.
Quite an angry Fernando Alonso as well.
Very critical of the car.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very critical of the car, and outside of the car said they split strategies with Jensen and I. It didn't work because we got in each other's way.
Yeah, I mean, Fernando's quote of the race was about 7 or 8 laps in. He got told over the radio, push. And he came back with, I've been pushing in lap 1 in a car that shouldn't even be in this race.
Yeah.
Not a happy man.
That is unhappy Fernando again.
I wonder if Jensen's maybe cancelling his sabbatical for
I'm
next year.
starting to wonder this.
Oh, hang on a second, guys. I might not be able to do that kart race in April because I might be needed in some of the races.
Yeah.
He's booking refundable flights, isn't he?
yeah. He's got a return ticket, hasn't he? Let's be honest.
Right, so there's something like underneath the surface. It's a duck. It's a duck.
It's a duck.
Yeah,
Walks like a dog.
it's floating along and going fucking crackers underneath the surface.
Yeah, I can see what you mean with that. Yeah,
But,
looks quite serene, just moving.
Yeah.
but under the surface, paddling like hell.
Having like hell against the tide,
Yeah,
pretty much. I mean, another thing is that
Sea
Fernando is
ducks.
apparently unhappy with the situation regarding Ron Dennis.
Well, I read a thing saying that he wanted to find out what was going on with Ron Dennis immediately. Now, you'd really think Fernando would be one of the people that was in the loop with all this stuff.
Well, yeah, and especially, I mean,
Mind you, I suppose they don't leave any fucking folders around him anymore.
no.
well, nothing to do with him, was it? But yeah.
I mean, the thing is, this one's pure speculation. Does Fernando's contract have a key man clause in it? And is that key man Ron Dennis? And if Dennis goes, Fernando can just walk away.
Well, I think the thing is, you got to remember as well, Ron Dennis was so instrumental in bringing Fernando Alonso back to McLaren.
Yeah.
It was Ron Dennis. The pictures of Ron Dennis and Fernando when they made that announcement
Cuddles.
with their arms around each other, like they were brothers. Christ, at the end of 2007, Ron Dennis was probably chasing Fernando Alonso with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
So the amount of healing that he had to do with Alonso in order to coax him back to that team, I can see why Alonso might be a bit nervous if Ron Dennis isn't there next year. Because guess what? If Martin Whitmarsh comes back, Alonso's going to be hating that.
Yeah, I don't know. Tell you what though, I think it could end up being a fucking just the right move for Jensen. This whole
sabbatical,
and a contract for 2018. I think it might be just the ticket when it comes to
because it's Martin Whitmarsh again. If Martin Whitmarsh comes back, Jensen, would you like a 10-year contract?
I think I even if it was just for the year of his contract, I think Martin Whitmarsh would honour that just because of what Button has done for McLaren.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that year is the least that team can do. If if there's a seat available, come 2018.
And if it is Van Dorn in the car and he's still a bit patchy, then they're going to need someone who can.
They'll need a wise head, and to be honest, you don't get a much wiser one than Jensen.
No,
because
and he's level-headed as well.
Yeah, just because of the way that Jensen has managed to get something out of even the New Earth Dream Renner.
Yep.
Which wasn't even symmetrical.
Well, I think that's the thing. I mean, you've had that car has had such bad because I think Jensen's had the share of the mechanical issues this year as well. I think, hasn't he? I know Alonso's had a couple too.
I think so. I don't know without looking at the stats. But, I don't have them in front of me.
Yeah, it's hard to judge. It's hard to judge what anyone's doing in that car.
Two of the best drivers on the grid, arguably, completely different styles. Mm-hmm. But when you've got one of your drivers saying, a double world champion saying, well, "Look, you split our strategies, and you got us falling over each other during the race. We were racing each other when we should have been racing somebody else. We could have scored points today."
Well, the only thing I'd argue with that is that one of them, not knowing who it would be, but if they've got split strategies and they end up on the same piece of tarmac, then either one of them has excelled their strategy, or one of them hasn't been going quick enough.
Yeah.
So I don't know who that would be, but
I think as well, going back to we were making it was a very obvious joke to make about Alonso being the nice man to the cameras and then maybe not so nice in the team. Mm-hmm. I think he's wonderful to all the mechanics, and he's really nice and thankful to all the people who actually do the groundwork thing on the car. I think when he steps into the paddock and he closes that door in the management, that's when he's thumping fists on tables and pointing fingers and going, "This needs sorting."
Yeah,
that's when I think he's angry, Alonso. I don't think he's wise enough to know that he shouldn't be mad with the people who are doing the work, and it's when drivers start discrediting the mechanics in the team that things start going wrong.
Yeah,
take note, Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So I don't know. It looked like the best McLaren could hope for, and let's face it, all weekend they didn't look like hassling any points.
Well, no, in Friday practices, you normally see a McLaren sort of
fifth,
something like that, and think, that's quite good. Maybe they'll score a point.
Yeah,
because Friday pace, as Ferrari will tell you, is never replicated on Sunday.
No,
and.
They just weren't there this weekend.
They were about 8th or 9th. So, to be quite honest with you, finishing 12th and 13th is probably about right in
where they should have been.
Yeah.
Mm.
So another poor showing from McLaren.
Mm. Moving up into the point scoring teams next, Williams, Massa in 9th and Bottas in 8th. Massa was described on the TV commentary that we were watching as someone who's let this season slip by him.
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard a better description of his year.
That's kind.
Yeah.
He didn't let Perez slip by him.
No, he didn't. He was he was Captain Holdup, wasn't he?
He was Trulli.
What?
Yeah.
Yano Trulli School of Blocking. I am leading the Monaco Grand Prix. It's mine.
Was he using next year's tyres already?
Yeah, he made that Williams extremely wide, didn't he? And he wasn't going to let anybody past.
Yeah,
which of course is his right.
It is his right, but he must have left that.
It was like Kim Kardashian was riding a turtle.
He made that car as wide as possible and probably left the circuit the least popular man in Mexico.
Did he leave?
I'm not sure. He's probably still going round.
He's probably still going round. He's holding up the track sweeper.
Maybe.
Mexico, that's when they beat the horses till the candy comes out of them, isn't it?
Yeah,
The
pinatas.
pinatas.
Yeah.
Beat the horses till the candy.
That's Lee's Friday night.
Blindfolding children and hitting the horses with sticks. Where's the candy?
Why is it
No,
raining?
it's supposed to be a paper mache horse.
Mummy, the horse is crying.
Yay, strawberry jam! It tastes horrible.
Did you get many trick-or-treaters tonight, Lee?
Nay.
Probably for the best.
Oh dear.
But yeah, I think that might have been his like Massa's end.
Well, yeah, pinata. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Mexicans were looking to lynch Felipe Massa for blocking Perez so much. Perez was getting cheered every
Perez
time he
must
came
have thought
into
Trump's wall was already up.
I know, yeah. But attached to Felipe Massa's car. Yeah, Perez was getting cheered every time he went through the two stadium sections. And every single time he came through, he was still behind Felipe Massa.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's getting tight, that battle for fourth between Williams and Force India. And at one point, it looked as though Williams might outscore Force India, but I don't think
Force India outscored them by a point.
Yeah, by one
Do you know what,
point.
though? I really think that this weekend, where you look at Force India as a whole, it kind of proved Nico Hulkenberg's point. Joe, I think he's looking like the sharper move right now than staying
at Force India.
Yeah.
Because look at the car that he had and the position he finished. But we'll move on to Force India in a minute. But he finished ahead of Valtteri Bottas in the Williams, and Bottas had quite a solid first part of the race.
Yeah.
He's running quite high up there. I probably something to do with this tyre strategy, I'm guessing. He went a bit longer into the race, but he was dicing with Kimi Raikkonen for a while. Was it Bottas that Vettel was complaining about at one point? He's ruining his own race. He needs to get out of my way.
No, I think it was Massa.
Was that Massa? Well, there you go. Yeah, he made his car again, leaning on the Massa making his car as wide.
He got
as possible.
Valtteri's faster than Nude as well.
Did he?
Yeah. It didn't come across the radio, but he clearly got out.
He did move out of the way like Bottas passed.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, if Valtteri was quicker than him, he knows how to move. We know that Felipe Massa knows how to move out of the way. He just didn't do it very often. So Williams fighting for fourth, desperate for that fourth place, and I think they're 1 point behind now. If Force India outscored them by a point.
It's just
Again, I'm asking questions on the fly without anyone having the relevant information in front of them. So what I'm going to do is sit here and pad out whilst Paul taps away on his device.
You're such a
dead
professional.
air. Repeat.
No
dead
dead
air.
I'm consummate professional.
No air
I
shall be
know
taken
nothing.
prisoner.
I know nothing, so I have to keep asking everyone else.
Never an air left behind.
No air.
And at the moment, well, it's now 9 points. Force India outscored Williams by a point, and they were in the lead by 8.
I thought they were tied after Austin.
No,
Fair enough.
Force India have now got 9 points on Williams.
Okay, so it's still very much not a done thing with
No.
Brazil and Abu Dhabi still to come.
Yeah.
I would fancy Brazil and Abu Dhabi to be.
Williams circuits, would you say?
No, I'd have thought you need a good aero package, don't you? So I'd have thought Force India.
A good aero for Brazil, less so
Yeah.
in Abu Dhabi, I think.
It's all
Last sector in Abu Dhabi.
There's
maybe.
a couple of big straights, but there's a lot of twisty bits.
Yeah.
Force India are going to take fourth for me.
I hope so. I think they deserve it.
I think they deserve it.
Just to show that Williams' strategy of battling for third has backfired completely.
Yeah, battling for third.
Yes, how's that gone, Mr. Smedley? Force India next, anyway. Perez in 10th, who we've already discussed being held up behind Massa for decades.
Yeah. Final decades. Final point of the an important point as well, as you say, because they outscored Williams by that 1 point. But going back to the point we were making before about Hülkenberg looking like the sharper driver again.
Outqualified both Ferraris.
Yeah. And he said at the end of the race it was the best result they could have hoped for to finish 7th behind both Mercedes, both Red Bulls and both Ferraris, and then Hülkenberg.
In whatever order.
I tell you what, I'd argue whatever lap he put together,
And he
in that
started
Force
5th.
India. Yeah,
Yeah.
Hulk was running 5th, if it was only for a few yards.
I'd argue that whatever lap he put in that Force India to put himself 5th, if you'd have stuck him in a Red Bull or a Ferrari, that fucking lap might have been worth pole.
Pole or second.
Yeah.
Would have been front row. I've often thought Sergio Perez was by far the better driver at Force India.
No, I think Hülkenberg. I've always kind
I
of
think
thought
they're
that.
both as good as each other.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to. I'm
But
gonna have to.
different circuits suit them.
But
Absolutely.
The difference between Hülkenberg and Perez for me is, I look at Hülkenberg a bit like Button, where I think if all of a sudden, if he
What
was,
with like sort of little twinkly hearts around him and
yeah, so it's all a bit fuzzy and
Yeah.
and warm.
yeah, and you got like a
warm
power
light.
ballad playing in the background.
Soft
Yeah,
focus.
Yeah.
Bit of slow mo.
Very
Yeah.
80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think like Jensen, if Renault were gonna, the joke's gone, Paul. It's not just knowing when they're there; it's knowing to when to let them go.
That joke was faster than me.
I think like Braun gave Button the car in 2009 and he won a championship in it.
Yeah.
I can see, I could see that happening with
Hulk and Renault.
not with Renault, but I'm just saying if that situation arose, I think Hulk could win a championship with it. I don't believe Perez could.
Perez is a very good number 2 driver.
Yeah, I think Perez would do exactly the same with the situation as Rubens Barrichello did.
Possibly,
Which would be sad. But
it could be the way it goes.
Yeah, I just don't.
I think if it was the right car,
I think he can win races. I just don't think he's. I don't think he's anything better than an on-form Massa.
Massa was world champion for 30 seconds in 2008.
Yeah, but he
And we saw
shouldn't
as much
have
of Perez's father as we did Massa's dad in the 2008 Brazil race.
And they look very similar as
They
well.
do,
'cause
actually,
they,
yeah.
they were both at the Mexican Grand Prix, actually. Didn't
Yeah,
they?
and did you not notice that it went from going from his dad, which looks very much like Massa's dad, to a picture of somebody in the crowd dressed in Force India's gear, which was the fucking double of Massa's dad.
Oh no, I didn't
Yeah,
spot
No, I
that.
didn't see that. I think Hulk has potential for massive success at Renault.
Yeah, he's
And
Nick
in a-
Heidfeld 2.0.
In a couple of seasons when he's got himself settled into the team, and if they build a 2018 or 2019 car to his strengths.
Well, they could build next year's car. Could be as soon as they took that team over, they could have been like, right, this season's a write-off. Start now on next year's car.
Yeah,
That they could have a very good package for 2017.
It's gonna be interesting to see what he does, and whatever happens with Renault, I think Hulk is going to be the number 1 driver for him next season.
yeah. I think they're going to be
whoever's in the second seat.
solidly in the points, like fourth, fifth best team next year.
Yeah.
That's right. That's where I see them landing.
Williams, you are going to struggle next season.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just prove my point, motherfuckers. Make me look clever.
Right. Where do we go with the next 2 teams? Because I think we need to sort of cover both Ferrari and Red Bull together.
Well,
Because of,
I put Ferrari first on the
I'll
list.
tell you what, we'll do
because-
Kimi first.
Right.
We'll do Kimi first, and then we'll look at every driver that got third.
Blah.
yeah, Kimi had a bit of an anonymous race, really, didn't he?
Yeah, he had a very Kimi race. He didn't have an awful lot to say before the race, did he?
Apart from
He was quite detailed on the radio when I can't remember what he said. He said something on the team radio, which was it sounded more like talking to your granddad in the front room on the phone rather than listening to a Formula One driver.
I think it was about how his new set of tyres weren't quite as good as the old ones.
Yeah, these new ones don't seem to have the pace of the last set. And that
but it was relaxed.
It's Kimi. You usually expect someone like, "What's this shit you've put on my car?"
Yeah.
Ring, ring, dickhead.
Yeah, that's it. Kimi has done an amazing job for Ferrari this year, but I feel they got his strategy a bit wrong and pulled him out of the race with the Red Bulls a little bit. They didn't put him on the same strategy.
Pulled him out of Vettel's way is what they did.
Pulled him out of Vettel's way, yeah, that's completely what they did. But with that second...
They two stopped him, didn't they?
Yeah.
They two stopped Raikkonen, and they didn't have to.
2006 Ferrari.
Yeah. Yeah. He's...
the old Massa Shuffle.
The old Massa Shuffle. Pulled him out of the way.
Rubens Barrichello 1-2.
Yeah, absolutely. Sebastian Vettel did well because he had somewhat of a recovery drive after a poor start, and worked out very early on that they could probably one stop if they went onto the mediums. And I think
he just held onto those the soft tyres for absolutely as long as he could.
Yeah, he was like lap 30, wasn't it, or something? He pitted eventually to change his time. They only said he could do about 20 laps on the soft
I think it was 22 for the softs, and he'd done 33 on them.
Yeah.
By the time that they pulled him in. Great on tyre saving, but I don't know.
Tell you what, best result that Ferrari could have hoped for would have been that third place that you could argue he should have got, perhaps.
The one he got the trophy for before he gave it back.
The one he stood on the podium for after forcing Max Verstappen out of the cool-down room.
Well, do you know what the crazy thing is? I think Ferrari had the second best car this weekend.
They did on Friday. On Saturday, they struggled with the super soft tyre.
Yeah, but once again,
so they stayed away from that on the Sunday, and they were actually. I don't know if it's fair to say they had the second best car when you look at Ricciardo's comeback where after that early stop and he was down in like 15th, 16th place.
Yeah, but that's Ricciardo. I think Ricciardo's making the difference there.
Possibly. It's hard to tell, but I don't know whether it's fair to say that Ferrari had the second
best.
best.
If they didn't have the second best car, they were equal Red Bull.
Yeah, they were able to take the fight to Red Bull as seen in those latter stages of the race.
But that's the thing. It shouldn't have took them to the latter stages of the race.
No.
They should have been with them from lap 1. And once again, Ferrari have turned up to a Grand Prix with a quick car and proceeded to do fucking nothing with it.
They got their tyre choice wrong on Saturday, didn't they? Mm-hmm. But I think they had to sacrifice Saturday to try and make good on Sunday.
It just seems like a team with no direction.
A little. I know what you mean. I mean, it was nice to see Toto Wolff and Maurizio Arrivabene having a bit of a man hug and a shake of hands when Vettel did eventually make it onto the podium.
Yeah, but Toto Wolff was just saying, like, see, after this year, like, when we don't see each other all the time, stay in touch.
Yeah, it's been nice seeing you this year, mate. Take care. I'll see you.
Arrivabene was like, Mercedes want cigarettes next year?
Fuck off, you belly.
Like, I'll see you in Monza in the stands.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he did that, didn't he? When Bernie Eccleston, that was one of the reasons I liked Arrivabene when he first came into the team. When he made a big point of when the ticket prices went up for the race, and wasn't the ticket price that went up. The paddock passes got harder to get, for just common people like us, and he went and watched qualifying in the stands. Across the way from the start finish straight, send a Bernie Eccleston a message saying, I'd rather watch Formula One with people that enjoy Formula One than people that pretend they do.
Yeah, which is great.
Talking of which, the barbecue section, £1,000 for a weekend ticket per person.
I hope it's free for barbecue stuff.
You would expect at that price.
Probably got to bring your own meat and cook it as well. For that price, you want.
They'll provide the smoke.
I want my food cooked for me if I'm paying £1,000.
Yeah. Right, now we move on to some of the third place finishers.
Right. Sebastian Vettel, should we start with him?
Sebastian Vettel was the second third place finisher.
he was the one who crossed the line fourth.
Yes.
And then took the trophy for
Third, and is now fifth.
Yes.
Do
you want to go over the reasons why? Because I'll probably get my tongue twisted.
Right.
That trophy's had more hands on it now than Taylor Swift has.
Ooh.
And that's just this weekend. Come on, Taylor Swift jokes were so last week.
I know.
So Vettel inherited third due to Verstappen getting a 5-second penalty for going off track and gaining an advantage after he locked up and cut across the grass, which people have said was the same move that Hamilton pulled at the start on the first lap, but we'll get to that shortly.
Yeah, we'll talk about the penalties after we've talked about who finished third and when.
After that, Verstappen appeared to back Vettel up into Ricciardo, and then Vettel moved under braking, and the official reasoning was a potentially dangerous manoeuvre.
When Danny Ricciardo
was trying to make a pass, there was contact, and Vettel was penalised 10 seconds for that.
Yeah,
and 2 penalty points.
And 2 penalty points on his licence, and may have to face a charge of bringing the sport into disrepute for the radio message.
The multiple radio.
The multiple radio messages, mainly the one you can tell Charlie fuck off.
Yeah, you want a message for Charlie.
It's so fucking harsh, this, isn't it? Because what do you do? I in a one way, it's
right. The first one.
It's
Let's
bad.
have a look at the first one, okay? Because Verstappen crossed the line third, Vettel crossed the line fourth, and Ricciardo crossed the line fifth.
Right.
Right. So Verstappen crossed the line third, and it was taken away from him because he cut the first corner and went straight on over the grass to turn 3, and then
had a bigger advantage over Vettel than he did when he entered turn 1.
Yeah.
Well, now, to me, that's pretty clear cut that
He
should have been a
deserved
penalty.
that. Yeah, he should have gave the position back.
He was told to give the position back by the team, and didn't. And I've got to say that was the quickest I've ever seen the stewards act after the race, issuing the 5-second penalty to Verstappen, because things like that normally happen well after the podium.
But you see, I think there's a problem here, because I don't think it was good that they reacted that quickly, because I don't think they were reacting to what the problem actually was.
They reacted to Vettel's team
radio. They were reacting to Ferrari, not the situation.
I think they were reacting to Vettel's team radio more than anything, and the hand signals after the race. Danny Ricciardo held himself very well, and in the after race pit interview.
Though there's only one time that I've seen him that angry.
No, he was a bit annoyed. You could tell he was annoyed.
That was when someone shot his family.
Yeah, but he didn't come on the. Well, if he did come on the radio, we didn't hear it. But he didn't pull hand gestures at anyone. He wasn't swearing. He wasn't moody. He said that was a bit unfair. He said, I don't think Sebastian should be up there with that move that he pulled on me. He said, but that's racing, so we'll see what the stewards have got to say for it. It's still under investigation. And then,
now, do we actually know what the team were trying to tell Seb? Charlie says what?
Always tell your mummy if you're going off somewhere.
Yeah, Charlie says.
We're going to have to provide links for our... for anyone that's not British and anyone under 30.
Actually, can we close off today's podcast with a clip from one of the Charlie Says?
I'll put a YouTube link to some of the was it public information films that they used to have, or I don't know what they call them everywhere else, but they're called public information films. It was a bizarre car. Anyway,
that's Charlie.
What were Ferrari trying to tell Vettel that Charlie had said? Because he just cut the team off and then started on the whole, you can tell Charlie.
Yeah. And telling the race director to fuck off probably isn't a great idea, especially when you've made a questionable move yourself. But
I think that was before he made the questionable move.
That was before.
Yeah, right, okay. Well, it's the first move infuriated Vettel so much that he lost his head.
Yeah.
Okay, so Verstappen's...
Yeah, that in Australia.
Yeah. Verstappen's made a move. He hasn't made any attempt to come back onto the circuit earlier than just going straight on to turn 3.
Yeah.
So it's quite a warranted penalty for Max, especially as the team told him, you've got to give the position to Seb. That didn't happen. Instead, what Max did was made sure Sebastian was backed well into Danny Ricciardo, and Danny Ricciardo then went for an overtaking manoeuvre on Sebastian Vettel. Probably would have had track position, but Vettel moved under braking, which ironically is a move outlawed because of
Vettel complaining about Max Verstappen.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
genuinely didn't think Ricciardo was going to make that last lap. The flat spot he had on his tyre.
That's what ruined. That's why you couldn't attack again.
I've never seen such a bad flat spot on a tyre
Like a 50
that
pence
hasn't
piece.
gone pop.
Yeah.
You
It was
know,
like a 50 pence piece.
That was more than a
mental.
flat spot. It actually looked like it was a
going
dent.
down to the canvas.
Yeah,
yeah,
it was
yeah.
actually.
And it looked like there was a huge chunk of rubber flapping around.
Yeah.
That had been
That's
taken
what I mean.
off.
It looked like it had gone down to the carcass of the tyre.
Yeah.
You know, fucking. I don't understand how A, it didn't deflate, or B, when he got onto the straight and put his foot down, it didn't rip the suspension off his car.
Yeah. So Vettel, so Danny Ricciardo had to sit behind Sebastian Vettel and hope that the stewards would intervene and do something about that.
Yeah.
Sort of double-edged sword slightly. They sacrificed Verstappen's podium to give to Vettel, and then Vettel ended up getting his sacrifice for Danny Rick. So 3 drivers got third place.
Yeah.
And the last driver to get third
That's a whole
place.
podium.
I know,
thirds.
yeah, exactly. The third driver to get third place is the one who
Crossed the line fifth.
fifth, but it stands as a third place in the points championship. He gets third, and with that third place, Danny Ricciardo wraps up third place in the championship. He now can't be caught.
Yeah.
He's now officially in third place.
Congratulations.
So congratulations, Danny Rick.
We know he's
But
a
hang on.
regular listener to the show.
So
But
All
Danny
right.
Rick actually only managed to get third place by half a second. If Verstappen had have actually put his foot down a bit more at the end,
He'd have still got third.
Verstappen would have still got third.
Wow.
Danny Rick was 20.858 classified time behind the winner.
I wonder if that...
Verstappen with his penalty was 21.323.
Jeez. Is there any grid drops for anybody?
They've not announced any grid drops, just two licence points for Vettel.
although Vettel might face a reprimand for swearing.
But there might be something else for swearing. Nothing's been officially said on that yet. The media are hanging him out to dry already, but
It was the most confusing thing for the casual F1 fan, and we had somebody with us watching the race yesterday who's not really watched any F1 before.
Who's Charlie Whiting?
No. And she was very confused by what was happening at the end of the race. Why did the man who crossed the line third not finish third, and why is the man who finished fourth running now to go up to the podium?
Because shenanigans.
Because shenanigans, and it's right. Racing is racing, and you got to give penalty. You can't let people get away with things. And there are people who say you should be allowed hard racing, but when is hard racing cheating?
But I think
It's a headache, and it doesn't need to be a headache.
But I think Vettel and Ricciardo was a racing incident.
I think that's why the decision didn't come as quickly as the Verstappen Vettel decision.
It
was a lot less clear cut, and it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Verstappen pushing Vettel back into
Do you know what?
Ricciardo.
I don't think Vettel's penalty would have happened if it wasn't for his radio messages.
Possibly, if he just stayed quiet and then said afterwards.
If he hadn't have told Charlie White to fuck off, I don't think he'd have been. I don't think he'd have got his penalty.
And
like
if that's
I said,
the
it
case,
wasn't-
then that's completely wrong. He shouldn't be penalised as a racing penalty for things related to his conduct.
Yeah, see that what
and
Vettel,
FOM didn't have to broadcast that message.
No, they chose to.
No.
They chose to do that.
Yeah,
Because they don't broadcast every single message. They broadcast a selection.
Yeah.
yeah, it's full on drama, isn't it?
Oh, it's creative
Oh,
editing.
they
Although no drama was what Bernie Ecclestone predicted.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. He's worse than us.
Yeah.
On the whole, though, penalties and screw-ups aside, Ferrari should have done better because they shouldn't have been in that shouldn't have been in the positions that they were in. They needed, like we said, to take the fight to Red Bull, and it only started happening towards the end.
Mm-hmm. It really looked like Vettel was going to take the fight to Verstappen.
Yeah.
Actual fight.
There was a lot of finger wagging from Vettel to Verstappen as they crossed the line, which Max responded with the international gesture for "I'm not your biggest fan at the moment."
Yeah.
No, he just gave it one of those, didn't he?
It was a strange.
It was kind of half the money sign, half the wanker sign.
I thought it was more of an Italian, just like
I thought it was a joke at the Italian sort of thing. Yeah.
How would we rate? Let's just go for all three drivers' performances as a whole in the race: Vettel, Ricciardo, and Verstappen.
I think
Ricciardo, 10 out of 10.
He was the man of the race. I think. Like he all he did all afternoon was overtake people when nobody else seemed to be able to overtake.
Yeah.
So 16th to somewhere in between 3rd and 5th. We're not quite sure. Brilliant drive.
Stunning drive.
Yeah. He did get driver of the day, which for once it worked, but they've still got that wrong.
No, Sebastian Vettel.
Was it
got
Vettel?
driver.
Sorry, Vettel got driver.
Did he?
Yeah.
And I think he did put in a brilliant drive. He did half the race on soft tyres.
Vettel.
Yeah.
He did do very well, but he did himself no favours in his last couple of laps. With the team
Obviously floats.
Yes, with his team. Had he not lost his head on team radio and gone, he could very well have remained angry in the car. And not. This is the thing. He only moved very slightly under braking, which caused Danny Rick to think there's a space. Oh shit! There isn't a space. As soon as he went for the space, Vettel started closing it under braking.
Yeah.
And had Vettel left that gap open, I still think he would have maintained a position because of the tightness that Danny Rick would have had to go around that first bend. Vettel would probably have still been ahead of Daniel Ricciardo for probably the rest of that lap at least. So to do something so silly has cost him greatly.
Yeah.
And could still cost him again. So for me, that's why Vettel doesn't win my driver of the day and goes to Danny Ricciardo.
Toss up between Ricciardo and Palmer for me.
Yeah. I was just going to say Palmer deserves a shout of it as well. I tell you what, though, we're going to have to, as well as our bonus Patreon podcast that you can get if you just give us $1 a month.
Nice.
We're going to have to do another podcast.
Oh God.
Next year.
Oh no.
We are.
Double podcast.
Yeah.
Go on, what for?
Well, because if Ferrari are going to be what we think they're going to be, I think we're going to need half an hour just talking about what mental state Vettel's in. Like, think of him now. Now think if that car is worse next year.
He's going to be shouting GP2 engine, GP2 engine.
Yeah.
It's just going to be half an hour of GP2 engine and cuckoo noises. We'll just record it once at the start of the season and you can play it back every week.
I mean, I know Sebastian Vettel's quite fond of waving one finger at the end of a race, isn't he? But normally
it's one finger up in the air, not sort of wagging like a angry school teacher.
Yeah, it's going to have a gun in it this time.
Yeah! That just leaves Mercedes. And it wouldn't be Mercedes without a little bit of controversy with them as well.
Lewis Hamilton locked up and went straight on at the first corner, and a lot of people are questioning why he didn't get a penalty for not giving a place back when Verstappen did get a penalty later on in the race. There is a very tentative onboard footage that shows Verstappen and Hamilton leaving the circuit at slightly different points and rejoining at pretty much exactly the same point.
Yeah.
The difference on the first lap is Hamilton does make an attempt to sort of try turning back on that concrete runoff.
Yeah.
And then when he realises he's not going to make it, he then decides to go onto the grass.
Yeah.
Whereas Verstappen just straight away didn't turn and didn't even try using the concrete apron to get back onto the circuit, went straight across the grass. That I don't know if it was, that may have been the deciding factor. It's a good question as to why Lewis didn't get a penalty, but Nico was also not able to take advantage of the fact that Lewis left the circuit because he was tussling with Max Verstappen.
He was wheel to wheel with Verstappen, and he cut turn 2.
Yeah,
I
Rosberg had to cut turn 2 because Verstappen forced him off the circuit.
Yeah.
I think the other thing, and this is the reason that maybe, because realistically, you could almost argue that Verstappen deserved a penalty from the first corner.
Yeah.
For what he did with Rosberg. I don't think he did, for the simple fact of that there should be special dispensation for the first lap of a race, because if you're going in there with cold tyres, cold brakes, and if all of a sudden you're going to start penalising drivers for locking a wheel up or just going in a bit too hot and stuff.
Stewards tend to be more lenient at the beginning of a race, much like referees do in football, soccer games. For the first, like if you do an awful foul in the first 5-6 minutes of a game, you might get booked. It's definitely a free kick. You get a telling off, and then you carry on.
I don't know. The record in the Premier League was Vinnie Jones, who once got booked after 8 seconds.
Well, yeah, I mean you can get booked, but the thing is, if you don't make a terrible foul in the first few minutes, you might get booked, as you say. But then, if you do it in the last 5 minutes of a match, straight away you're off.
Yeah.
Red card. Get out of here. What are you doing?
Unless you're 2011 at giving it the full Grosjean.
Yeah.
It's
foot down going into turn 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think with the Rosberg Verstappen thing, there's some angles that make it look like Verstappen is doing a really aggressive overtaking manoeuvre on Rosberg. There's other angles that make it look like he's lost control a bit, and it's
slid into Rosberg.
Yeah, it's not an overtaking manoeuvre. It's brakes locked up. Oops.
Yeah.
And it's racing incident to me.
Yeah, the amount of times you see that where someone almost has a crash and then accidentally turns it into an overtake.
Yeah, quite lucky that it was wheel to wheel as well, because if that was wheel to side pod or front wing,
it was very unlucky.
Or if it was side pod to front wheel or whatever, it could have been either Verstappen or Rosberg out of the race there and then.
Yeah, that would have been beautiful.
It would have been. Would have spiced things up a bit more, I think, for the rest of the race. Because Red Bull were keeping Mercedes quite honest for a lot of that race.
For the majority of the race, the top 4 were within 10 seconds of each other.
Yeah.
Which
6 months ago, it would have been 30-second gap, 40-second gap.
I tell you what, I don't think it's Red Bull that have done anything here, though. I think it just goes to show you how much Mercedes have turned the wick down to guarantee both cars finish the races.
I think that's probably what we're looking at.
Yeah, because obviously Lewis is out of power units.
Yeah,
and he's still got another 2 races to go, and he just cannot go full chat.
Yeah,
because
I think he's got 1 left. I think Nico's got 1 left.
Oh, mind you, he had the big one though, didn't he? The big blow up at Malaysia.
Yeah. Well, he had 3 after Belgium. That was one of them gone. Yeah. I think he's got
demonstrated this with sweets.
I think he's got 1 new one left. That's it.
Yeah.
And 1 used one, which might not be any good.
We don't know how well used it is, and Lewis complains that his engines always go.
Yeah.
Again, driver conditions.
Who knows?
But for the race, bar that first lap, cannot fault either Mercedes driver really.
No.
I don't think you can fault Hamilton from Friday.
No, he wasn't fastest in a couple of sessions, but
I don't think he was trying to be.
That's not the aim of the practice sessions.
No. He, but I mean, it wasn't like he did a complete clean sweep as we've known.
From his first lap in Q1, it never looked like he wasn't going to get pole.
Yeah. Even when he was slower on that second run in Q3.
Yeah, it was all about who's going to be next to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I heard. I watched the qualifying on a replay.
Yeah,
couldn't watch it live Saturday night, and I heard some of the daftest Formula One commentary that I think I have actually heard during Q2 from Crofty, who should have known better, by asking where Lewis's pace had gone because he wasn't setting the scoreboard alight in Q2.
He was on the soft tyres, not the super softs at that point, wasn't
he? And he didn't need to, because all that he needed to do was nurse a set of softs round, finish in the top 10, and then Q3 goes fastest because
Yeah.
he just wanted to start the race.
Sorry, I know what you're talking about. It wasn't just him, though, was it?
It was Rosberg as well.
Rosberg was, I think he was 5th in Q2.
Yeah, but it was a
wasn't he?
temperature thing. There was a temperature thing happened in Q2 when nobody all of a sudden was setting their quickest times.
But
So
of course,
They're also looking after tyres for the race.
For anyone who doesn't follow the intricacies of the rules, the tyres that you set your fastest lap on in Q2, if you're in the top 10, are what you need to start the race on.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got some people who know they're going to get into the top 10 running on slower tyres, which will be better to start the race on.
Yeah.
Which is what we saw the Mercedes doing,
Yep.
what we saw the Red Bulls doing,
Yeah.
and what we didn't see the Ferraris doing.
No, Ferrari went with super soft.
Or have I got that the wrong way around? Was it the Ferraris? Ferraris who went on softs and
Ferraris went super softs. Mercedes and Red Bull went softs, I think.
No, Red Bull had super softs on.
Did they? Oh, Red Bull, sorry, yeah. I'm the other way.
Yeah.
Ferrari and Mercedes had softs. Red Bull had
Red Bull
super
had super
softs.
softs.
Yes, correct. Sorry, thank you.
But yeah, I just couldn't understand why both Mercedes drivers were being criticised for not going as fast as they could. They didn't need to.
No, I mean, and it's not even for the show for the fans at that point, is it? Because the show for the fans in qualifying comes in the third part qualifying, Q3, when there's only the 10 cars on the track going health. Literally, that's when the cars are at their fastest all weekend.
Yeah.
They don't even put a lap in that fast during the race, not towards the end of the race. It's a strange thing to complain about. As a Formula One commentator, as you say, David Cross should know better.
Yeah. He's normally spot on. It's just that he made a very rare mistake, but it was a glaring one.
Yeah, but I mean, we suspect he might be a casual listener, and if he is, I'm going to say to him now, I hope you did that to instigate conversation with Martin Brundle as to why Mercedes were a bit slow. Unfortunately, I watched the qualifying on the other channel.
Yeah, I just saw the repeat on Sunday. So faultless by Mercedes. Rosberg still leads the championship. He just needs a second and a third to take it.
Well, a win in Brazil. He's
Or a
champion.
win. Is it a win in Brazil?
a win in Brazil will win in the championship.
He's 19 points ahead, with 50 on the table. If he wins the race in Brazil, he'll be 7 points. 26 points.
26 points ahead.
With 25 on the table.
Yeah.
So he'll be champion with a win in Brazil. He's won the last 2 years at Brazil.
Yeah, but he won in Mexico as well.
Yeah, but Lewis has never won in Brazil.
No,
Never.
but
Lewis had never won in Mexico.
Well, they only had one race in Mexico.
No, I'm just saying.
So
Yeah,
every year.
Yeah, but you say Nico won in Brazil last year. He won Mexico from pole last year as well.
Yeah, he also
but
won Brazil the last 2 years.
Yeah, last year in Brazil, though, that was when Lewis had switched off, but hadn't switched off.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. The
Or
other
haven't
thing
switched
is,
off, but
But
have switched
it's a confidence thing, though, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Nico can take into Brazil the confidence that he knows how to win in Brazil. He's been there the last 2 years.
But this year is
And he doesn't need to win.
He doesn't need to win. Lewis kind of does and hasn't ever won there before.
Yeah.
Joe, if it rains Friday or Saturday, Friday, so Saturday or Sunday, in Brazil for either qualifying or the race, Lewis Hamilton will be champion.
You reckon?
Yeah, because Rosberg has been so shaky
In the rain.
So if it rains in qualifying,
Are you doing a quick weather check for us there, Paul?
No, I'm not.
Oh,
Just
go
one.
on.
It's 2 weeks out. We won't get
Yeah.
that.
Oh, it's 2 weeks. Yeah,
It's
sorry.
2 weeks.
It's
Yeah,
not
no,
back to back, is it?
we've got a weekend off this weekend.
Yeah.
if it rains on Saturday, I think you'll find him qualifying well out of place. If it
Used to all these races back
if
to
it
back.
rains on Sunday, I think you'll see him struggle like he did in Monaco.
Quite possibly. He's not so great in the wet, Nico Rosberg, but also if you want to go with a bit of a if you look for superstitious things, it was Brazil where Keke Rosberg won his world championship in 1982.
Yeah, it was Brazil where Lewis won his world championship.
His first world championship.
Yeah.
And also a very tenuous link was the only other father-son world championship was in 1962 and then 1996,
which was won in Japan.
Yeah, yeah, but Damon
Oh
Hill,
yeah, I'll see. Yeah,
92 and 96, so
Yeah.
it could be 82 and 2016. another 20 years on. It's
Yeah.
very tenuous, but it's just something that a statistic.
I thought Damien Hill was the first.
Yeah, Damien Hill was the first.
First fast. Oh,
First
sorry.
fast son,
I see. You were
Rosberg
going
could
for
become the
Graham.
second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
But
see,
this will be the first father-son world championship pairing not to come from the same country.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I think Rosberg is going to find himself in a very strange place. It's going to be a strange pressure for him because if Hamilton can win the next two races, I mean fair enough.
Rosberg still only needs 1/3 and 1 second.
No, but if even if he's second, in Brazil, we'll say.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Goes to Abu Dhabi.
Goes to Abu Dhabi.
And if Hamilton wins and Rosberg's second, it'll be down to 12 points.
Hamilton, let's say Hamilton qualifies on pole in Abu Dhabi, right? Regardless of where Rosberg is, the pressure Rosberg's going to have on himself it's Hamilton can't win the championship, but the pressure is on Rosberg not to lose the championship, and I think that's going to be a very, very strange situation.
Well, if it goes to a last race of the season, Nico Rosberg has only been in that situation once before, where the last race of the season he's got a chance of winning the title, and that was 2 years ago, in 2014.
And he didn't have much of a chance
No,
that year, did he?
it was double points Abu Dhabi.
It was because of the double points, and then the car let him down anyway.
Yeah, double points Abu Dhabi, and as you say,
Wish they had double points this year.
I don't. I hated it. But the
sorry, just for the record, so did I.
Yeah,
it was stupid.
It was an awful idea.
It was more false than DRS.
Yeah, massively so. And the Lewis Hamilton has been in last race battles for the championship in 2007, 2008, 2010, 2014, and 2000. But no, that's it.
Yeah.
So 5.
Oh, he fought for the world championship in the first year he was in a Formula One car.
Yeah, and he won it in the second year, and then
and if it hadn't been for a bad pit stop call in China, he would have won it in his first year.
That was his call.
Came in a lap too late and didn't have the tyres to actually make the pit lane chicane.
Yeah.
Silly season. Let's move on to that because we've got a whole show next week to talk about previewing the Brazilian race.
Yeah.
And the silly season will change by then. So let's do this week's because at the moment I think it's been upgraded from silly to bloody daft.
Daft season.
Start with Haas.
To be fair, there's no silly season though, is there?
It's been silly all year
It's
round,
been silly
pretty much.
year.
No, but there's been no silly is
The rumours are silly. That's what it is.
Sebastian Vettel to go to Mercedes.
Careful now.
That's silly. That's but all the moves that have gone on and the moves
Sensible
that might
season.
happen, it's all pretty sensible.
Yeah, let's start with Haas because they've
start with
apparently
season.
Yeah,
they've apparently offered a contract to a driver, but no confirmation on either side yet.
Well,
Haas
have offered a contract to Kevin Magnussen.
Yes. Gunter Steiner has confirmed holding talks with K-Mag for next year. The quote is, "We've spoken to Kevin like we've talked to a few other drivers. There are not 10 on the shortlist anymore. We're down to 2 or 3, but we are talking, with Esteban also still in the mix."
So what about Roman?
There's a whole article here on Autosport about the Haas lineup for next year.
And Grosjean's
Grosjean doesn't even get mentioned.
Wow.
His name doesn't actually crop up anywhere.
So is he already
So
gone?
that means something between he's gone or he's still going to be there.
Yeah.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
Nothing in the middle.
Schrodinger's driver. He may or may not be in a Haas when they open the box next season.
Yeah. Esteban Ocon in a Mercedes confirmed.
Yep.
Well,
we saw that.
He was on Sunday anyway for the track parade.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Mercedes with his name on it.
If Haas do take Magnussen, how many races in before they get buyer's remorse?
2.
Depends who his teammate is.
Yeah.
If he's got Gutierrez next to him, he's going to look really good, isn't he?
Yeah, if it's Grosjean, then
He's going to look really good, isn't he?
yeah, it'd be alright. Either way, he's doing okay.
Yeah.
The main consensus among a lot of Formula One journalists at the moment is that the move that's going to trigger a domino effect almost in the driver market is where Esteban Ocon ends up. Now, Renault have an option to take him up, to offer him a contract, which expires at the end of next week. So, is that the end of this coming week or the week after? Anyway,
I don't know.
Before Brazil, we should know whether or not Esteban Ocon is off to Renault.
I think Manor will have the same team next year.
Apparently, he's not going to be staying at Manor. He's going to be off somewhere else.
Force India are apparently interested.
I think you've got Force India because I think it'll go where the Mercedes engines are.
Possibly. Force India, Esteban Ocon tested for twice in 2014.
And it turns out as well, I've been sort of spreading a slight misinformation that it's Renault don't have the same sort of ties we thought they did
with Ocon. It's just because he's French, they like him and they're interested in him.
Yeah, I think they had something to do with him at some point.
He's been on the Renault Young Driver Programme, but he's on loan from Mercedes to Renault, and then Mercedes have put him in the Manor.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be he'll go to Force India.
Yeah, it looks like Pascal Wehrlein may well stay with Manor.
Unless Force India are looking for money.
Which is a possibility, which is why
Jolyon Palmer's name crops up.
And NASA.
And both.
And Ericsson.
Yeah, both Sauber drivers crop up when it comes to that. So
now what does that say for Sauber when Ericsson's mates bought the team for
and
Ericsson?
He's like, see you later, boys.
Yeah,
exactly.
They are royally fucked, and if Ericsson goes to Force India, then they can only rely on one car scoring points until Belgium.
Yeah.
No, but and then he might win in Brazil next year.
Yeah.
But let's face it, like he must be in, considering like his crew have bought the fucking team.
Yeah.
He must be so in the know with that team right now. You know, like he must know as much as anybody is. So for him to put himself out on the driver market and take his sponsorship somewhere else,
I think any driver, even if their mates have just bought the team, would take a drive with Force India over a drive with Sauber.
Yeah, we've spoken before. We think Sauber are probably going to be the ones right at the back of the field next year.
And we think Force India are going to be towards the front.
Yeah, closer towards the front than Sauber are anyway, put it that way. It's hard to tell with the new regulations and that coming in, but just given the fact that Sauber are going to be using that awful 2016 Ferrari power unit, which isn't awful now.
Not awful today.
No, but next year with all the changes that are going on, it's just that's not the power unit to have.
It might not even be too bad for the first half of next season, but what's going to happen to them is what's happened to Toro Rosso, but they won't have as good a car around it.
Yeah.
Correct.
Manisha Kaltenborn has actually said, we know that both our drivers may be looking at other opportunities outside Sauber. Mm-hmm. So it even sounds like she's resigned to losing.
And there's a possibility of Esteban Gutierrez going back to Sauber. There's a rumour that came out of Mexico this weekend, just gone. So there's too many possibilities towards the back end of the grid of drivers moving around.
Sauber might say Palmer.
Palmer could go to Force India. Palmer could stay at Renault.
I don't think Force India will take Palmer because
I think they can get drivers that are a better bet.
Yeah, they can either get a better driver
or
and pay them, or they can get a driver with more sponsorship.
I think they could go for Palmer because having had Perez and Hülkenberg in the same lineup for the last 3 years, is it now? 4 years? They haven't been able to choose between them which driver is the best, is number one driver for the team. So they sort of ran them both, given them both equal opportunities, and done very well, pushed themselves up into fourth place.
Yeah.
Perhaps they're now looking to do a driver one, driver two system.
Don't see the point in it. I don't see the point in any team having a number one and a number two driver
unless you're fighting for the championship. That's a good point. But
all you do is destroy morale within a team.
Yeah,
if you do that,
because half the garage are fighting for number two, halfway down the field.
Yeah, one's a ginger
Yeah.
I think if your two drivers are fighting each other so hard that it's causing you as a team to lose points,
Yeah.
then it makes sense to have a number one and a number two.
Yeah.
Button and Perez.
And that,
when they were at McLaren
yeah,
together.
Yeah.
it doesn't matter whether you're fighting at the front or fighting at the back.
Yeah.
If your two drivers are pushing each other off the circuit, then that's a problem that you've got to manage somehow.
If you're hemorrhaging points because
Yeah.
of fucking stupid stuff, yeah, that's fine. But I don't see that happening with. If you take a Palmer and Perez,
It just depends who goes into that seat alongside Sergio Perez of Force India, but they said they're not going to rush it.
Yeah.
So,
they need to do something. It's not.
well, no, I actually think their young driver, who is very well tied into the team, Alfonso Celis, I think he would be a wonderful option for them, because he's
looked very good in testing.
He's already in the team, and in testing, he's wiped the floor with already seasoned Formula One drivers.
Let's not forget though, and let's not let Force India's place in the championship cloud our minds of what that team is and what that team's financial situation is. They look for drivers with checkbooks.
They do.
Yeah.
And if Alfonso Celis brings one, sign him
Because look at all the Willy Wonky over Perez, and it was down to his sponsors and what they were going to pay the team and
because
what they were going
Force
to pay
India
him.
confirmed it first, and then Perez said, I haven't confirmed it, and then eventually Perez confirmed it, and then the third confirmation we had was from the sponsors.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the negotiations Hulkenberg had with Renault? He'd have been telling us, so what you want? Oh, we want you to drive the car, and you're just going to give me money. He's yeah. We're going to pay you to drive our car for what, 2-3 years? Do you fancy that? He's like, but I don't have to do anything. Do I not need to go and find somebody else to pay me? Or no, we'll pay you directly.
Yeah, you just drive our car. That's what Ferrari said to him, and he was like, nah. That ain't happening.
Ringing his manager, going up and saying, I think this is some sort of fucking con, Derek.
Yeah.
So what's your Nigerian bank account number?
said something about a cousin in Africa that's died.
He wants my bank account details. He says I've won many millions.
I only need to send him $100 just so he can sort the legal side of it out from his end.
Perez confirmed. Oh dear. So yeah, there's a lot to go on with silly season, but we can speculate all night long.
Yeah,
we won't know until
not get anywhere. We might get it right, but it'll be more good luck than good management. There might be something to report by next week. There might be something to report by after Brazil. There might be something to report by Barcelona testing.
There's probably going to be something to report 10 minutes after we stop recording.
Well, of course, silly season isn't just about the drivers.
No,
Ross Brawn.
where is he going to end up?
Master and leader of the universe.
According to
Yeah.
Auto Build,
It will be a well-run and organised universe.
What a fast universe.
Yeah.
Yep.
according to Auto Build, he might be the new Bernie Eccleston.
Auto
What,
Build.
dotty old...
Auto Build.
That sounds like one of those
Pronounce-
straight to
pronounce-
DVD
pronounce-
Transformers rip-offs.
Pronounced built. Pronounced built.
Yeah, Autobild. It's
Auto
a
Bild,
German
yes.
publication, of course, if you hadn't already guessed.
Auto Build machines are hiding.
Cyborgs in fancy dress.
But yeah, tell you what, that's not a bad call if it's Ross Brawn. Transformers at Formula One races. Cars that just transform.
Well, he transformed Ferrari from mid-grid to winners.
Transformed Honda from mid-grid from back end to winners as well.
No, what he did with Ferrari was took Benetton and made them Ferrari.
Yeah.
Walks through the paddock scattering double diffusers out. Diffusers for everyone.
like Willy Wonka. Come to Ross Brawn's Solutions Factory. You know how he's been you know how he's been fishing for the last couple of years?
Yeah.
Bet you he's streamlined fishing
fishing for a job.
Yeah, well, no, but I mean, he's streamlined fishing to the point where he's catching 20 times more fish.
Because he found a loophole.
Yeah.
Found a loophole in the laws of fishing.
Fish actually jump out of the water and into the net.
Yeah, he's got a double diffuser on his boat.
But anyway, according to Autobuilt,
Yeah, he's in the
Sorry,
frame
Dan.
for the Bernie Eccleston job, or more than in the frame. Contract with Liberty Media has been signed, and the FIA have approved it. If Autobuilt are to be believed.
Shit, there's a real story under these well-placed jokes.
yes,
Yes.
there is, yeah.
Which would tie in with something that Braun is reported to have said about being happy to return to Formula One, but he wouldn't like it to be with a dominant team because he didn't think that would be good for the sport, and he wanted to do something that was good for the sport.
Yeah, he had an interview with the Daily Telegraph last week. His first interview since leaving Formula One, narked, in his words, with Toto Wolff and Niki Lauda. And apparently Ferrari have been on at him constantly in the last 3 years to come back.
I'm not surprised.
But he hasn't wanted to because he's been fishing and doing up a house.
And writing a book.
Yes, on strategy.
And why the fuck would you join Ferrari?
I think Ferrari are in the state that they're in because he's not there.
Yeah, I know, but like if he came back and didn't walk through the door and turn it into fucking liquid gold shitting like miracles, then it would be an instant failure from the first race. He'd be a fool to go back to the team. And he's clearly not a fool.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think he'd be going back. I don't think he'd go to any team. I think we're in charge of the sport. He could well oversee the biggest shake-up in Formula One for a long time.
Yeah.
Because we've said before, to somebody who doesn't watch Formula One, cars haven't changed that much since the mid-90s, really. And you know, there's a lot of drivers who the driver market used to move quite quickly. There's a lot of drivers who've been hanging around in Formula One for many years now, names that you can associate with the sport all the time, which is good in a way, but also, you know, there's not enough fast changes happening in order to keep
At least
the casual fan
Yeah.
on their toes and interested.
he'd also be able to deal with little French guy who looks like Napoleon.
Todd.
Yeah.
You also have to take into account Halos are coming in soon. They will be some sort of head device.
Yeah.
Will be part. That's going to change things massively.
I think Ross Brawn might be the sensible head that turns around and says, like,
canopies.
no half measures. If we're doing it, we just like let's do this now
Yeah.
and not do something that's ugly and stupid.
Yeah.
Kevin Magnussen had a good explanation of what he said driving with a Halo was like. He said it was like driving a Formula One car with a peaked cap pulled down over your head to where it was just low enough to obscure your vision and be uncomfortable. And I thought it sounded,
Bit of a complaint.
yeah. Oh yeah, he didn't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought it was a, it was just a good human analogy of it that anybody can go, oh right.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to bring this into Formula Lee, aren't you? You've got to do a lap in the wet at sunset in a manor in a hat.
Yeah, and if you're the championship leader before the start, you get poked in the eyes.
Sure, Derek will have something to say about that. Moving on to Formula Lee, we've all had something that we've had to say this week. We have a message to Charlie. Fuck off.
Yeah,
Allow me to run through a few tweets. What have we done to deserve this? My God, the man's a sadist. Does he really hate us all that much?
Yep.
And these are people who haven't met him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're very, very sorry, and whatever it is, we'll never do it again.
I think Lee has put himself in this position now after Lee's revenge, as I posted it up on the Facebook
I'll do you the
page.
deal. We'll have a really nice one next for Brazil. Dry Mercedes in the day if we get 5 more Patreons.
Well, no, you need to announce. You need to announce this.
No,
before we get the
I'll,
Patreon.
I'll announce it. I'll announce it on Friday. They can have a week before it.
Well, it's a 2-week one,
It's
so
a
you can
two-
have a
it's
practice
two-
week
It's a 2-week one, so I'll announce it before the. I'll announce it before the.
before next week's podcast.
No, yeah, well, before the weekend. Before the weekend.
Any tapping you can hear in the background is me, Chris, and Dan signing up to our own Patreon account.
If we get, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be much because, to be perfectly honest, the little half hour we just did before for our Patreon members, I think was a pretty fucking funny half hour. So you're going to get something out of it. Yeah.
Should we just get the full plug in? Yeah, we have launched a Patreon page. You can donate from as little as $1 a month.
Yeah.
For that, you get an extra 30-minute podcast, mainly not about Formula One, just about anything and everything.
Yeah, we
that
try
comes
to
mind.
avoid Formula 1, really.
Yeah, there's other rewards on there. We're getting some pin badges done. There's going to be hand-drawn postcards from the team.
Yeah.
And the top tier is $20 a month, and for that you get the 3 Legs 4 Wheels Pay Driver T-shirt.
Yeah, with
And
our logo on it and with Pay
with
Driver.
Pay Driver on there.
Yeah.
We're just finalising the designs for that. I'll be dropping an email out to the $20 Patreons in the next couple of days asking for your T-shirt sizes, because we forgot to ask for those when I put the sign-up page together.
Oops.
Well,
But I'll-
some people are touchy about that thing.
yeah, but if you're going to send them a T-shirt,
They want one that
hope it
fits, probably. Yeah. So yeah, Formula Lee. Then I have to be honest. I did a quick run during the week last week, and I thought this is bollocks. I am not doing this. And I got to Saturday, and I thought I should probably do some Formula Lee, and then I couldn't improve because I didn't really do much Formula Lee in the week because I thought it was rubbish.
I managed to take a second off just before we did the podcast.
So yeah, thanks to Paul, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thanks to my driver coaching.
So,
Just-
say,
just
you
after-
say driver coaching, I say you told me that you had a different setup. That's not driver coaching.
I told you what setup to use. Mine. And the setup that I was using, thanks Derek.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, I did try Derek's setup this week. It didn't work for me so much. I tried a couple of other setups that didn't work for me. Couldn't find a good setup, and I struggled, and I actually finished second to last after my points finished last week. So
I don't mind not winning. Because
I don't mind not winning, but it's nice to get into the points.
Actually, Formula Lee message, or one of the messages of the week. This one's from Conor McElroy. This round of the competition has just made me want to cry. Can't we all just concede to Derek and get our names picked out of a hat to decide the rest of the points?
I think you should read out the other the other tweet we got.
I'm just trying to find that one and who it was that sent it, which is funny but kind of sick.
No dead.
See,
No,
I like to think
no,
of
no,
myself. I like to think of myself being like that. If I'm just drifting around the sort of 10th, 9th place, I don't want to be
Well,
thought of as a
I-
deity, but just like Jesus, you know. I've created this more of a demigod than a god,
Yeah, fair enough.
and I just get to wander around looking at my disciples, seeing how they're doing.
Right, I'll tell you what. When the Patreon money starts coming in, we'll just buy you a copy of Civilization 5, and then you can just be nice to the rest of us when you're playing that.
No, because at the beginning of my cult, I'll be playing Civilization in real life with real people.
Anyway,
Chris, let's have the times, because
Yeah, I
I
was
do
gonna
have
say,
the other message.
Scientology.
I do have the other message here and who it's
Scientology.
from, but it relates to this week's winner.
okay, fair enough. So you got it there, but I think this really did separate the good gamers from the ones who, like me, perhaps got a bit lucky occasionally with a good lap in Austin after trying too hard.
Did you Williams it?
I was second to last. I was nowhere near. I got, but a top 10 in
Can I
10.
just point out I was in the points until 6:15 tonight.
Yeah, Paul got Gutierrez until
Should've
then.
got it.
Somebody else got Gutierrez. In 10th place with a 134.049. So that was the threshold to get into the points. 134.04, a time I could only dream of. Lee Webster. So well done, Lee, regular contributor to the podcast. Then we have a very own Lee in 9th place
In your
with a
face, Webster.
134.010. James Penny takes 8th place with a 133.937.
Bad penny.
With Adam Adam Garcia taking 7th place.
Got
with
nothing funny to
130.
say about you, Garcia. Carry on.
133.644 for Adam. Chris Rowden with a 133.498, and then top 5, breaking the top 5, Pete Bull with a 133.457.
Load of bull.
The Flying Flynn makes the top 4 again, just missing out on the podium with a 133.176, and the top 3 drivers all have times of 132s. In 3rd place, Josh Stewart with a 132.998. 2nd place, we just mentioned him, Conor McElroy, who didn't enjoy this challenge at all, but he got 2nd place out of it with a 132.725. And is there any point in mentioning the winner? Derek Schleicher, Derek Senna, as we've been referring to him recently, with a 132.465, which he did very early on. Wasn't afraid to post his time up on Facebook.
But thank you so much for sharing your setup, Derek, because it really did help.
I've got to say thanks to everybody who shares their setup. Josh does quite a lot. Josh Stewart does quite a lot of setup tweaks and posts them on Facebook as well. So if you're struggling, find us on the leaderboards or find us on the PlayStation Network if you're on PlayStation. If you're on Xbox, you can find Derek is an Xbox player, or come to our Facebook page and there are various setups on there. Dan, are you okay?
I'm just having a nap.
Fair enough.
It's quite late here.
Because Dan's time was 136.847.
Oh, right.
But
yeah,
still,
I had a nap in the middle of that lap as well.
Yeah.
Still faster than me. So I think that means that with 2 races remaining on the actual F1 calendar, that Derek Schleicher is Formula League champion.
Yes, because Derek is on 125 points and the nearest rival is Dave Flynn on 68.
Motherfucker.
But talking of Dave Flynn, Derek posted one of his early times on the Facebook page along with his setup. Pretty soon after that, got Dave Flynn's time in with a message saying 133.176. Felt like an excellent lap, but just seeing Derek did a 32.4. What the fuck? It's as one-sided as the Schumacher years. Someone lend him some skis. Harsh.
Yeah, that's a bit too much, but it's funny though.
I, however,
we don't
think it's perfectly acceptable and hilarious.
we don't wish Derek any bad at all whatsoever. He's a very helpful, very nice man. But yeah, the fact that Derek wins all the time is as one-sided as the Schumacher years.
I would like to some feedback from the players, or I don't know. Can we call them Forta? Let's call it Forta for the Formula League.
Formula Fulter.
Yeah.
Formula League Drivers Association.
Fulda. I'm thinking for next year, what we do is, after the last race, Formula League stops, so everyone can just go away and just drive around
In the off season.
Yeah, in the off season, get ready for it. I think the rules for next year, rather than me dicking about and going, you can have half traction control this week, or no traction control, or automatic gears, or no gear, or
no gears,
or manual gears is the word I'm looking for.
Box full of neutrals.
Next year, from the first race on, I'm still just going to pick the weather conditions and the time of day and that sort of shenanigans. We're obviously going to do it with the with the Formula 1 tracks, and I'll pick the cars as well.
Yeah,
but we're not allowed assists next year. A blanket ban on traction control, a blanket ban on gears.
You're completely burning driver aids,
and a blanket ban on ABS as well.
We did get some feedback from Derek actually, when you were talking about what you're going to do with the assist for next season. By the way, Lee, I completely support this rule shake-up. Let the skilled drivers shine.
We'll see. That's funny because I've got a funny feeling that it's gonna. Everyone's going to suffer from this.
I don't think Derek is. I'm looking at the screen that he sent in and he had all assists turned off.
Did he on that?
Yes.
See,
you've done there is made Michael Schumacher more Michael Schumacher.
No, because I think Flynn, for instance, who's close to him, I think one of the reasons that he's not actually up there with him is because he's got assists on. Because, yeah, if you've got traction control on, it fucking slows you down coming out corners.
You're just doing this to make us all better drivers, really, aren't you?
Yeah, and to hurt you.
Yeah, no, I was waiting for that.
But there'll be fabulous prizes to be won next year.
Oh, that is true, actually.
There's fabulous prizes to be won this year, so I suppose Derek needs to send us his T-shirts.
that would be a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep, Derek, if you're listening, obviously you are listening, but we'll drop you a message on Facebook as well. Send us your address and your T-shirt size, and we will, seeing as the championship has been decided, we'll get the T-shirt sorted out for you. We'll have pay driver, and we'll probably have best driver.
Yeah, if you can just
Formula League champion.
Yeah.
if you can just forward the money that will cost for me to go over and visit him, I'll present him to him.
Should we do the mailbag?
Yes.
Got a letter from Rob Higgins. A message from Rob Higgins.
A letter? What is this?
I don't know. It's 25 to midnight. That's what it is. My brain is on slow
And the
down.
clocks have just changed, so it's 25 to 1 in real money.
Yeah, it's basically Monday, Tuesday. I don't even know when I am. Right. Anyway, Rob says, bring back gravel traps. I know the general fear is the cars digging in and rolling, but the cars are built like tanks. Alonso hopped out of his car okay. He may have missed the next race, but he was fine to race again. Or introduce a runoff exit lane, a bit like the white line coming out of the pits. May not work at every corner, but would work with most larger areas and force a time penalty before the driver is back on track racing.
Can you repeat that question, please? Me and Flood were playing.
I'm trying to read that while you two are playing patter cake with each other.
Yeah, patter cake bakers, Matt. No, we weren't playing that at all.
So his thinking is that because Alonso didn't end his career after rolling in a gravel trap, they're a good thing.
I think the problem with off-track areas is the first one is cost, because all the circuits have got rid of the gravel traps and put concrete runoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do you remember you used to have flat gravel traps, and then you had ridged gravel traps, and then they decided ridged gravel traps were too dangerous, so they flattened them out again.
Yeah, because I mean the big idea was if you get into the ridged gravel trap, that'll stop the car, but it'll stop it permanently for the rest of the race.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember which driver it was at a testing session in Silverstone actually put his car in the grandstand because he hit the ridged gravel trap at the wrong angle.
And it went up and over the barrier.
Yeah.
Oh, good lord.
Was that what happened with Surtees as well? Is that related to a gravel trap?
Surtees' son?
Yes, Henry
grandson.
Surtees.
No, Henry Surtees was caught in the head with a wheel.
Yeah,
right.
That is why Halo is supported by John Surtees.
But it's generally a safety thing for the circuits. How do you sort out the runoff areas?
You need a way to stop a car without stopping it too quick.
Yeah.
I actually think slippery surfaces are a good sort of out here because they're not
slippery and a gentle uphill slope is what I'd always thought.
Possibly, but then you always run the risk of cars rolling back onto the circuit.
And again, you're fucking over the track for one race every year. You know,
because what would work for stopping a Formula 1 car wouldn't necessarily be the right thing for a touring car.
And could be very dangerous for a MotoGP bike.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for me, the best thing they could do would be to take these big smooth runoff areas they've got and have large sections of them with rumble strips on.
Or,
so you're actually putting in a
drawing pins.
Yes. no, but
you're
essentially
actually putting in like meters of rumble strip.
Yeah. Or not suspension braking.
What about those like sleeping
Sausage
policemen
curbs.
that they have? Yeah.
But not suspension braking ones.
Yeah.
It's because you essentially
ones that you can't go fast over.
Yeah.
For something like that for a driver running wide would be perfect because you would have to go over it carefully and not gain an advantage.
Snipers.
That's your answer to everything.
Yeah.
A head-up display on the car that gives you a telling off from Bernie Ecclestone every time you run off the circuit.
Or just a finger wagging at you.
Yeah. Or just get ridiculously tight on track limits as they are on the PlayStation, and any time you leave the track,
Didn't say the magic word.
Yeah, you didn't say the magic word.
No, the track limits on the PlayStation.
Velociraptors.
Track limits on the PlayStation are like it's jealous girlfriend syndrome. You've looked at another part of the track. I'm leaving you.
Yeah.
I think the problem with coming back to sensible land, the problem with sausage curbs and that sort of suggestion, there's two things that you're trying to trying to deal with. One is drivers deliberately taking a route around the track where the track isn't actually supposed to be there because they get an advantage from it. The other is someone coming off the track out of control, and in that case, they wouldn't be able to drive around sausage curbs because they're going sideways at 60 mile an hour.
Like Sainz in Austin, for example.
Sainz in Austin.
Yeah, but kind of they'd be put there because you're not supposed to go around them.
But if you've got no choice about going round them. For example, put yourself in this position. You're driving a Haas. Oh dear, the brakes have gone.
Or Hulkenberg last year, where his front wing fell off.
Went under his nose.
Went under his front wheels, and he was just sledging basically.
Yeah, but we're not talking if there was something ridged there for driver's displeasure, then you'd not be putting something there that's going to send a car into the air. It's literally going to be something so you just can't drive fast over it. That to me seems
but
reasonable.
what happens when you do hit it first?
No, that's what I mean. It would all have to be taken into consideration. I mean, I don't think people understand sometimes either how big rumble strips are. You know, they're basically small steps. People see rumble.
Well, they're big enough to put a hole in a Renault chassis.
Yeah. People see rumble strips and they just think it's like painted flat curbs because that's what it looks like in the race.
No, they're quite a couple of inches step in them, isn't there?
They're like that, mate. They're almost a fucking hand. Some point, you know, from when you get the severe.
Yeah, because there was the problems in Azerbaijan where the rumble strips on a couple of the turns were too high,
ripping the tyres.
And they were actually taking the tyres apart.
Yeah. So I mean, if you had something that was the size of a decent size, you know, an average rumble strip, so essentially you're just taking the curb further away off the circuit,
or a second curve.
Yeah, because that's the other thing as well. It doesn't have to be going for the whole section of the runoff area. If this is just like say 20 or 30 feet in, just so it's something that the drivers A have to go over and then B have to go back over again to get back onto the circuit.
Mm-hmm. But again, in a safety aspect,
Lee fixes Formula One again.
Well, no, because again, if you're spinning backwards and you got a rumble strip to go over, that might not help things.
No, but it's got to be better than gravel trap.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, the problem with corners is you run wide in one or two different ways.
Yeah,
you're cutting a corner, or you're not in control of your car, and they've got to find the right compromise between what happens if a driver runs wide because of racing, or what happens if a driver runs wide because they're driving a Haas and the brakes are
more
just
AstroTurf is the other one.
AstroTurf. So that's what I was thinking. AstroTurf is quite slippery normally for Formula One.
The only issue you've got then is, I suppose, if you spin and you go on off quickly on AstroTurf,
it's not going to slow you down.
It's not going to slow you down.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at what the state of the AstroTurf I think it was after the first Lesmo in Monza, after it had rained. And
got torn up, didn't it?
It was absolutely getting torn to shreds, and drivers were coming out with green tyres on one side, even though they were still online. And obviously, anything like that on the tyre, that's going to take grip away. And it's just going to be one of those.
If it takes grip away and they come back onto the circuit with the grip having been taken away, that's a penalty for them, isn't it?
Effectively, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, the only answer to it properly is to get these fucking
track limits
sorted out. GPS the cars. It's so fucking easy. More than two wheels go off the track, go past the white line. You get a penalty.
Yeah. There is a white line. You don't cross it.
Yeah. For every 3 times, for example, you exceed track limits, it's 5 seconds.
No, don't even make it fucking. I mean, obviously you'd need
You're gonna have to get a warning system in place.
See that. I mean,
the big sort of track limit discussion this season was answered in one very swift statement by, I think it was Bernie. You wouldn't do it in Monaco.
Yeah, I mean that's it's always the answer.
What Johnny Herbert always says as well, isn't it, on Sky?
Yeah.
His argument for Verstappen and Hamilton running off the circuit on Sunday was, well, if you have barriers where those white lines are, you wouldn't see them doing that.
I did see a suggestion that one thing you could do is put polystyrene barriers around. So, from the driver's point of view, they've got big walls. From
Yeah.
a safety point of view, you hit that big wall, you're not going to die horribly.
Joe, the other one.
The only issue with that would be we'd probably end up seeing a lot more safety cars and virtual safety cars while the marshals are out sweeping polystyrene off the track.
And cars getting polystyrene clogged in their radiators and air ducts and turbos.
Yeah.
Well, then don't hit the walls.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but somebody else hits the wall in front of you and a load of polystyrene flies at you.
Yeah. The other thing they could do is put the thin
Sharks.
traffic cones,
Shark tanks.
shark tanks. Like the thin flappy
Oh, the bollards.
bollards.
Yeah, the ones that they hit and they're on springs.
Just put a fucking sea of them on every corner. So if you go off, you're essentially driving through them.
A forest of bollards.
Because it wouldn't, as long as they weren't going to fucking rip up, I suppose it'd be grand. But it's going to damage your car essentially. If you go off, it's not gonna rip your wheels off, but you're gonna need to go and get a front wing.
Yeah, which to me is fine. We want to see people, if they do go off the track, we want them to carry on racing.
Yeah.
But we don't want them to get an advantage. So if they have to come into the pits for a front wing or stop for 10 seconds while they work out which way they're pointing, then fine.
Leads us on nicely to a tweet that we got from Ryan. Are the penalties for racing incidents too much and have the potential to prevent racing in the future?
Sometimes.
Yeah. They have. They. It just seems to be that they are clamping down hard in some cases and not in others.
This is the problem, is inconsistency, and I don't understand why we can't have a hired set of of race stewards. Not like you need driver representatives, fine. So get 2 drivers that are going to do every fucking race. And it's no good saying, oh well, some people wouldn't want to sign up to that sort of commitment. In that case, you need to pay them more.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, there's 3 regular stewards and 1 driver steward at every race. Yeah. I think there needs to be 2 permanent former drivers on the stewards panel.
I think you need the same stewards. I think you need however many people take to do it. Let's just say there's 4 stewards. Sorry, you need two driver stewards and 2. I don't know, whatever the others are.
Professional lawmakers.
Yeah.
But then another problem is that the fans aren't consistent in what they're asking for. Half the fans want to see drivers punished for doing things wrong and dangerous,
and half of them want
to see everyone let off so that the racing can happen.
Yeah. Well, this is one thing that's wrong with everything in the world now. We shouldn't listen to fans. Fans should not have a say in the running of any sport or any facet of entertainment.
Well, definitely they should.
No, they should vote with the wallets. If they don't like it, don't watch it. This didn't happen before social media.
Well, no, but social media is now a thing.
No, but the problem is all you get is a vocal minority. So what you end up with is a vocal minority that fucking turn everything into a piss pot for the normal people that just want to watch.
I think a fans representative on the board of Formula One, a fans group on the representative board of Formula One would be a good thing.
No, it's the last thing you need. Because people don't know what they want. People never know what they want.
I disagree with you.
Mm-hmm. But I think this isn't just Formula One. I think this is movies.
Yeah.
If before Twitter and Facebook, you'd have watched Batman versus Superman before deciding what happened. Now Ben Affleck becomes Batman, and the whole world melts down. Not for any good reason.
Other than Ben Affleck is Batman.
Yeah, not for any good reason. The only reason is the only state the internet has now is overreaction in abundance.
Yeah.
And nobody is ever happy with anything.
And sensible comments get swallowed up.
Yeah,
and disappear.
No, but nobody is happy with anything. All people do is find faults with things, and that's why I don't think it's a healthy thing for a sport. A sport should be governed by the owners of the sport and to a certain extent fed into by the participants in the sport. And then, to be perfectly honest, it's up to the viewing public whether they deem it entertaining enough to watch.
Yeah, don't entirely agree with you on that. I think that the fans are stakeholders in the sport.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, but their stake is their view.
But
Yeah,
at the end of the day,
Yeah, but-
we are the ones that are paying the money.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's
into
what I
it.
mean. But in that case, it's up to the show organisers to, like, if a play, for instance. If you go and watch a play, it's not up to you whether that play's any good, or it's not up to you whether that play's successful. It's up to them to put on a good show, and then because the show is good, it will become successful because you want to watch it.
It's a bit of a different concept.
No,
but
it's exactly
I
the
know
same.
No, it isn't. I know what you're saying, because you wouldn't put the same play on, or you wouldn't put different play on every week. It wouldn't. That's theatre. You can't really compare to Formula One. But I think that fan power, where fans have a majority say, is perhaps a poor idea.
Mm-hmm.
But having the fans' voice heard in a sport is a pretty good thing.
I think it has to be in
Yeah.
the cause of market research, because if you're going to put on a successful event,
Yeah, I mean, there will be people with
Yeah, but
surveys and
that's not
clipboards.
market research. Someone go, no, I want more overtaken. I want this. I want that.
but the problem is no sport is ever going to be perfect.
No.
Um,
But the thing is that it's in the same as a trade. Even like nobody ever takes to the internet to tell somebody they've done a really good job.
No, there's mainly complaints, isn't it?
Yeah, and then like I say,
It's like reviews of
yeah.
products. No one reviews a product if they get it and it does what they want it to do.
And even then, even this is the other side of it too. If someone does give a good review of something, there's always a bias towards it.
Yeah, or it's because they knew they were going to love it before they got it.
Yeah.
Or they had one very similar to it
Yeah.
beforehand and they couldn't wait for it to come out in the first place.
Formula One before in the 90s, and before that, all these golden years that people seem to get romanticised about, they were the years when fans had absolutely no fucking call in Formula One.
You are right.
Nobody listened to it. All you did was turn your telly on and watch it.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
no, because you had people writing letters to the editor of Autosport. It was, which is like
but-
how Twitter was done back in the old days.
Yeah, it was just...
yeah, but again, it's not.
So there was always feedback.
But yeah, there was feedback.
But the
I don't-
feedback wasn't as accessible to all.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Now,
I think now the problem is idiots have all the feedback.
yeah,
yeah.
But it is important that I'm not saying all fans on Facebook or whatever or online should mass together and just give all their opinions to Formula One. What I'm saying is like a recognised body of Formula One supporters that take into account fans' views, and the ones that are shit, obviously, and are completely unrealistic. Like, why aren't they using rocket fuel? Out.
Yeah, see, this is
then-
Paul's right in what he said then, because what I'm trying to say is the fact that it's fans should be listened to, but fans shouldn't feel that they're entitled to be.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Heard.
Yeah.
completely with you.
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
No argument from me.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's
That's what I mean to say.
You know, any good business, which at the end of the day is what Formula One is, because it is a money-making operation,
Yeah,
has to listen to its client base, its audience.
yeah.
They don't have to take everything that
no
the
completely.
customers say on board. But-
Especially when you've got half of the customers saying we want
Yeah,
harsher penalties and
Yeah.
half of them
Yeah.
saying we want less harsh penalties.
Yeah.
I want these tyres. Well, I want those tyres.
but
Well, it's look at Pirelli.
Exactly.
Yeah, give us tyres that last the race. Do that. No, give us tyres that degrade. No, now they degrade too much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
We want tyres that last the race. Oh, there was no pit stops in that race. It was
Yeah.
rubbish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
that one's going to rumble for a long time.
Yeah.
Just got one more here that we got in earlier today from David Roebuck. Now this is kind of going back to well, basically what's been kicking off all season and seems to have come to a head in Mexico. What do you think the percentage chance of Vettel being at Ferrari in 2018 are?
what's the chance of me having a 17-inch black cock by this time tomorrow?
If you pay enough money, you can.
No,
get
not somebody else's. Like my very own.
You can go down to Ann Summers. I'm pretty sure they sell something similar to that.
By tomorrow. Oh no, it's 10 to midnight. So
It's not happening, is it? I can't see it.
I don't think it'll be there because the team's imploding and he's just going to go. You know what? I've had enough of this.
I don't think it's guaranteed that he won't be there though.
No, it's.
I think there's more chance of him not being there than being there.
We're pretty sure that at some point soon, a lot of staff on that team are going to be swapped out, aren't we?
They could be swapped out for Vettel's favourite people from Red Bull, or used to be working at Red Bull.
Let's not forget that there's a really fast team on the grid, which is based in Germany, that have won lots lately. Both their drivers are out of contract by the end of next year. And
2018.
Yeah, and 2018.
Both are signed up to the end of 2018.
Oh, I thought it was the end of next year. But even so, like when that starts to arrive, and let's not forget, drivers have been paid off before. Mm-hmm. And I think if a 4-time German world champion became available, I think that might seem quite attractive to one of the silver teams.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. It could easily happen.
He could easily fight. If he was available in 2018, he could easily find himself in that McLaren that I'm hoping Jensen will be in.
Possibly.
So
Jensen and Vettel, that'd be a hell of a partnership.
Well, no, I think he'd get a button seat, wouldn't he?
Yeah, probably would. Well, it depends on Stoffel next year.
Yeah, it's true. There's nothing said. When you look at the last driver that they brought up, that was going to be the next big thing.
Kevin Magnussen.
Yeah.
Smashing.
Is that it for us?
Yeah, I think that's it. Just want to say thank you to everyone that sent in the comments about the race and during the race. And,
that was great.
Tons on Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
We've made our feelings clear.
Yeah, there was a lot of questions and opinions on that, which I think we pretty much agreed with the majority of. It's a mess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a mess, and Max was an idiot for not giving the place back to Sebastian when he should have done.
Yeah. Not got time to mention everyone by name because there really was quite a few, because I was spending half the time on doing the blog and half the time
replying to people
on Twitter and reading other messages and comments. We can't thank you enough for that. I just want to thank everyone for getting in touch.
Yeah, I'd also like to say as well, from what I was just saying about Formula One fans, I think I posted it up on our Facebook the other day, because I happened to be going through a different Facebook group, and I was looking at comments from it, and it is quite nice that we do seem to have good listeners.
We've got nice Formula One fans.
We get the nice intelligent ones.
Yeah.
And ESPN.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't.
Which, to be perfectly honest, there's lots of yous out there, and we've still how many likes we got on the Facebook page?
About 430.
Right, there's fucking thousands of you, thousands of you.
Come on, like the page.
Yeah. Because I mean, the other thing is as well, especially if you're interested in doing Formula Lee, it's basically the fucking page is now Formula Lee, isn't it? That thread.
It's a lot of discussion.
Goes on all the time.
Yeah.
So
that is kind of the weekly longest thread.
Yeah. Also, if you want a nice Formula Lee and you do want to go and find a Patreon, 5 Patreons, even if it's only the dollar one, $5 Patreons, and you can have a nice Formula Lee.
Nothing like bribery, is there?
Scratch my back. I'll purr.
And record it as a special Patreon gift.
Oh,
Paul, how can people get in touch with us if they want to?
All right. Well, you can get in touch on Facebook, facebook.com/3legs4wheels. It's a number 3 and the number 4 because I've had a bit of confusion with that.
I wonder if anyone's ever actually wrote the Facebook URL in for anything.
No, I don't know.
No, these days you just go into your browser, you type the letter F, and it auto-completes. You can tweet us at 3legs4wheels, or if you want to get in touch with Lee to berate him, you are
at A Total Shunt.
And if you want to get in touch about the wrestling podcast,
at Banter Club Pod.
I had to get that in there.
So go and search for Banter Club on your podcast device of choice.
Yeah. You can also email us 3legs4wheels@gmail.com. And the Patreon page, if you want to sign up there to get the extra rewards, get the extra podcast, just go to patreon.com and search for 3 Legs 4 Wheels.
It really is worth it. It's quite nice having a chat about stuff that isn't Formula 1.
Yeah.
It's kind of what we did before we recorded the shows anyway. We're now just recording
Be
that.
friends.
Yeah.
Right, can I go to bed now?
Yeah, it's almost Tuesday morning here. We'll be back next week with a preview of Brazil. Keep checking the Facebook page because Lee will put the Formula Lee update on there soon. If we get the 5 extra patrons before Friday, he'll do it as soon as they come in.
If we get 500 patrons,
No.
you can preview my Brazilian.
Oh dear. Too much.
Too much.
Let's cut
6
that
people
out.
have just unsubscribed.
I think we'll call it a day
Yeah,
there.
we will.
We will see you next week.
All right.
Bye.
See you next.
Bye.
Bye.